Okay, Mona, it's time for you to leave, my mother-in-law said loudly. She spoke so loudly that it sounded like the roar of the sea bears in the harbor. We're going on a fancy cruise, just the four of us, right? I asked. But my mother-in-law didn't seem happy. Her face twisted into an even meaner expression. Did you really think someone like you, who can't even keep a house clean, could come with us on this cruise? How audacious of you. Take this money, Clark. A useless daughter-in-law like her doesn't need to have fun. You can't possibly enjoy a vacation at our level. You're too foolish to even understand that. I didn't argue back against her harsh words. In my everyday life, I was used to being treated poorly with no one to support me. I had already given up hope. My mother-in-law laughed rudely and boarded the ship in a cheerful mood for vacation. My father-in-law and husband didn't say anything either. I looked at the three of them quietly, and as the ship sailed away, I waved and shouted goodbye. Best of luck to you. My mother-in-law started yelling back at me, but I ignored her. You're about to go on a trip I've planned for you, she said. Well, it's the best trip for me, at least. Enjoy the surprise revenge I have in store for you. You'll find out the details when you get there. My name is Mona, and I'm a 38-year-old homemaker. I work as a clerk at a medium-sized company. I've been married to Andrew for 7 years. Andrew and I were friends from our college days. We lost touch after graduating, but we started meeting up again by chance. Eventually, we fell in love and started dating about a year later. Shortly after Andrew and I started dating, he shared a secret with me. He told me he was unable to have children because of a condition called infertility. He looked sad when he told me, saying, "If we're together, we won't be able to have kids." But I wasn't upset by it. I never really had a strong desire to have children myself, and I believed we could still find happiness together even without them. So for the past 7 years of our marriage, without any children, we've been living peacefully as a couple. However, our relationship with my parents-in-law has always been difficult. Our house is right across from theirs, and since Andrew works for their company, we see them often. I don't mind that part. The issue is that both of my parents-in-law treat me coldly. My mother-in-law has always favored Andrew, so she doesn't seem to like me much and treats me like a bother. She often tries to pass household chores onto me, which is a common occurrence. She'll say things like, "Mona, I'm busy with work, so could you do the laundry and cleaning?" Or, "Oh, you don't have to cook. I can't eat the food you make anyway." When I explain that I also work full-time and it's hard for me to do everything, she gets angry. She'll say things like, "How dare you talk back to your mother-in-law? You're not fit to be my son's wife. Pack your bags and leave now." On top of that, my father-in-law is also set in his old-fashioned ways. He often says things like, "Mona, when are you going to stop working? You're getting older, so you should have a child soon." Or he'll criticize my education, saying, "What kind of schooling did you even get?" In any case, times have changed. You can have a happy home without children. But that's not the real issue. If I hear more of that talk, I'll call your company tomorrow and demand you quit your job to have a child. Dealing with my in-laws is tough because they're so set in their traditional views. I try to respond politely, but they often respond with even more criticism, so sometimes I just ignore them. Andrew acts like he's unaware of their behavior. He's gentle and avoids conflict, but that's not always helpful. He worries about upsetting his parents, so he sometimes ignores their behavior or even agrees with them to keep the peace. I hate to admit it, but a big reason we haven't had children is because of Andrew's infertility. He asked me not to tell his parents, so I kept it to myself. But it hurts that he doesn't stand up for me when they criticize me. Despite all this, I still love Andrew. He's a good husband who even cooks dinner for me. When I come home late from work, it means we can go out and enjoy ourselves on weekends. Both of us love traveling and have explored many places during our 7 years of marriage. One day, my husband handed me a brochure. "Mona, wouldn't it be amazing to go on a luxury cruise ship? I've never been on one before, only on a ferry." That sounds like so much fun, but we don't have that kind of money right now. Well, let's plan for 2 years from now. We'll save up and work together until then. That sounds like a good idea. We should be able to save enough money in 2 years. Okay, let's do it. So we started focusing on saving money. We avoided unnecessary purchases and did our best to save every penny. Then, 6 months before the trip, my mother-in-law unexpectedly showed up at our house as usual. "Hey, I heard we're going on a luxury cruise. Have you booked it yet? If you don't hurry, you might miss out on reservations." I was surprised by her sudden question and asked her how she knew about our trip. Andrew, sitting across from me, sheepishly admitted, "Oh, I mentioned it to Mom. We'll be away for more than 10 days, so it seemed natural." "I get that. But if they find out before we book, they might want to come with us." I wanted to keep it a secret from them. But my mother-in-law kept talking. "Work might be busy, but it's important to have fun sometimes, right?" I couldn't believe it when my mother-in-law grinned and said, "Of course we're going. My husband will come too." It was shocking. I had wanted to go on this trip with just my husband, not with my in-laws. I looked at Andrew, hoping he would object. I couldn't remember the last time we had a trip together as a family, but Andrew remained silent, and I felt helpless. After that, my in-laws kept visiting and talking about the trip. I thought of asking Andrew, who had suggested the idea, to make the reservations, but he always dodged the conversation, claiming to be busy with work. About a month before the trip, something happened. Andrew went out for a business dinner and didn't return until after midnight. Worried, I grabbed the car keys to go pick him up. Just then, the front door slammed open, and Andrew came in. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed," he said, taking off his jacket and heading straight to the bathroom. I stayed up late, feeling anxious, but he acted like nothing was wrong. Feeling lonely, I picked up his jacket, and something fell out of the pocket. I quickly grabbed it. It was a small gift box with a message card tucked under the ribbon. Without thinking, I read the card, and what I saw shocked me to my core. "Thank you always, Andrew. I love you." My heart sank. As questions swirled in my mind, I couldn't shake off the uncertainty. Who had Andrew been meeting with last night? And who had given him this gift? What did that message really mean? Unable to sleep, I spent the night tossing and turning in the living room. The next morning, Andrew woke up nonchalantly with a big yawn. I confronted him with the gift box and message card. "What's this? Where were you yesterday? It wasn't just a business meeting, was it?" Andrew's eyes widened in surprise. "No, it wasn't like that. It's just that, thanks for helping her with work." "I see. It's quite a passionate thank you saying, 'I love you,'" I remarked. Andrew began stammering and repeating himself, trying to explain. "No, it's not like that. It's just..." Feeling frustrated with the situation, I decided to leave and go to work. Despite feeling uneasy, I managed to focus and finish my tasks by lunchtime. When I checked my phone, I saw numerous missed calls from my in-laws. Feeling annoyed, I hesitantly answered when my mother-in-law called again. "Hey, Mona. I heard you suspect Andrew of cheating on you. Our child would never do such a thing, you know. Even if he did, that's just a man's instinct." Excuse me," my mother-in-law said forcefully before my father-in-law took the phone. "That's right. If anything, it's your fault for doing something to make him cheat on you in the first place. Andrew only cheats because you don't have children and are always working. When you get home, make sure you apologize to my son. Got it?" My father-in-law said, spewing accusations before abruptly hanging up the phone. I'd had enough. My in-laws were painting me as the villain, and my husband, who didn't defend me, even sided with them. After enduring it all for so long, I finally decided to put my plan into action. Then came the day of our departure for the luxurious cruise. My in-laws and Andrew happily got into the car, ready for the trip. I would drive separately to the port and join them there. Inside, I felt a thrill of excitement. "It's going to be a fantastic trip," I said, holding back a laugh as I drove towards the port. But when we arrived, I was surprised to find the port quiet and deserted. I unloaded everyone's luggage and made my way towards the pier, breathing in the scent of the sea. Andrew seemed carefree and playful. Then, just as I was about to board, my mother-in-law approached me with a big smile on her face. "Thanks for booking the trip, Mona. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Don't forget to pick us up." Confused, I asked, "What do you mean? Aren't we all going on this trip together?" My mother-in-law sneered and made a nasty face. "Oh, a daughter-in-law is just a stranger to us. Don't you understand? As long as you pay up, we're fine." I stayed silent. Meanwhile, my father-in-law and husband were happily browsing through travel magazines. Andrew noticed my expression, shrugged, and shamelessly remarked, "Seems like it's true. By the way, I haven't seen any luxury cruise ship around. Where is it?" My mother-in-law looked around suspiciously, noticing the lack of other passengers. "Did you get the right location, Mona?" Don't worry, just enjoy yourselves from here, I said as I watched them board the boat. Is this really the right ship? My father-in-law muttered, eyeing the small boat in front of him. It's just a smaller boat to transfer you to the luxury cruise ship. It's a safety precaution, I reassured them. Don't worry, get on board quickly. I urged them onto the small boat with their luggage. Take care, I called to the boatman as they set off. Goodbye. Best of luck to you. With a big smile, I waved goodbye to them. I thought I heard my mother-in-law shouting something, but I ignored it. Once they disappeared from view, I gathered my things and headed back to the car, hoping for a fun trip ahead. Later, when I returned home, I gathered all the belongings I had before getting married, clothes, appliances, and furniture, and placed them in one spot. Just as I finished, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. How dare you trick us? There's no luxury cruise ship. Where are we? She shouted. Her frantic tone amused me, and I couldn't help but laugh. After a moment, I decided to respond to her question. There never was a luxury cruise ship. I knew you'd try to leave me behind, so I didn't book anything. Do you really think you could get away with this? Where are we? I could call the police, my father-in-law's voice chimed in. The police? That's a bit much. Don't you think? I simply brought you to your wife's hometown. Did you get a chance to see Aunt Mel? I replied. Once again, my mother-in-law shouted. What are you talking about? Aunt Mel, your older sister Mel. I spoke to her, and she suggested bringing you all there. She'll likely take good care of you, I clarified. Aunt Mel, who was like a mother figure to my mother-in-law, had a strong stance against dishonesty. Despite only meeting her a few times at family gatherings, we had always gotten along well. So, I decided to open up to her and share everything I had been going through with my in-laws and husband. As I had expected, Aunt Mel was furious but immediately offered her support. I'll come pick you guys up soon, she said, ending the call. Shortly afterward, I moved to a new apartment closer to my workplace, which made my daily commute much easier. During the move, I collected evidence of my husband's infidelity. He had been careless, leaving behind plenty of proof. By the time I had settled into my new place, I had gathered enough evidence to support my divorce case. With the help of a lawyer, we successfully finalized the divorce. I also sought compensation for the emotional damage caused by the affair. The lawyer who met with my ex-husband, Andrew, reported that he looked devastated and exhausted. Meanwhile, Aunt Mel, a well-known sports instructor in the local community, had been keeping my in-laws and Andrew extremely busy from morning till night. They were now living a life as demanding as the one they had imposed on me. Aunt Mel mentioned that if they genuinely repented, they could be released from their duties. However, my in-laws' family business had practically gone bankrupt, and they had nowhere else to turn. But their struggles were no longer my concern. I simply hoped to never have to see them again. On a brighter note, I've recently met a kind and understanding man who accepts me, including my divorce and all that led up to it. Once his work becomes less hectic, we plan to get married. Although my journey to happiness has been challenging, I'm looking forward to a joyful life with someone who always prioritizes me.
My name is Ruby, and I'm 26 years old. I don't have a full-time job and have mostly kept to myself since middle school. I went to high school briefly but dropped out, so I only finished middle school. Since then, I've been living with my parents, working part-time jobs, and doing freelance work from online ads. I have an older brother named James who is 3 years older than me. He's very different from me. He's good at sports, has lots of friends, and is outgoing. James never wanted his friends to know about me. He never brought them home, and if we bumped into each other and his friends in public, he would ignore me. I accepted this and saw it as someone else's problem. Once James went to college and moved out, I stopped worrying about it. Then he started talking about getting married when he turned 29. It wasn't a surprise. Later he decided to bring his fiancée to our parents' house. That day I was at home when my brother arrived with his fiancée. "Mom, Dad, I'm back," I announced. My brother seemed surprised to see me sitting with our parents. "Sorry to interrupt," his fiancée said politely as she entered, unaware of my brother's reaction. When she greeted me with a puzzled look, I could tell she was silently asking my brother, "Who is this?" He probably hadn't mentioned me to her. "My name is James's mother," my mom introduced herself and my dad. The fiancé nodded politely but still looked confused. My dad didn't say anything about me. My parents have always been tough on me, especially compared to my accomplished brother. When we were young, they used to say things like, "Your brother can do it, why can't you?" But things changed as we got older. Eventually, they even started calling me a burden. It seemed like they planned to ignore me during this meeting too. "I'll go get some more drinks," my mom said as she got up. She whispered in my ear, "Why are you here? Go back to your room." I had come to this gathering hoping to connect with my family in my own way, but it seemed to be going wrong. Despite that, I couldn't just leave, so I stayed where I was. My brother's fiancée introduced herself as Emma. She was my age, 26, and very beautiful and elegant. She gave off a vibe that made me feel like I shouldn't talk to her casually. My brother seemed irritated. He probably didn't want me there. He introduced Emma to our parents, but he completely ignored me. I felt invisible. After discussing their upcoming wedding, the conversation turned to lighter topics. However, my brother continued to act as if I didn't exist. Then James asked, "So, Ruby, what do you do these days?" Before I could reply, my brother cut in, "Never mind, Emma, you don't need to talk to her," he said firmly. Emma looked visibly surprised. "Oh, okay," my mom quickly added, "Don't worry about it." "Yeah, don't worry. She's just a distant relative," my dad remarked, and that was the final straw for me. A stranger, huh? I thought. It seemed like reconciliation was never an option from the beginning. The meeting ended as if my presence didn't matter. Whether I was there or not, my brother and Emma soon got married and started building their own house to live in. My brother works at a well-known company and has a good income despite still being in his 20s. Emma decided to be a stay-at-home wife and quit her job. When my brother's house was finished, we received an invitation to their housewarming party. It was going to be a small gathering with Emma's relatives and my brother's bosses. My mom fretted, "Oh, it's done already. Time flies. We need to pick out a nice housewarming gift." My dad shrugged and said, "We're family, it doesn't have to be anything fancy," as he casually set aside the invitation. Only my parents' names were on the invitation, mine was missing. My mom seemed to notice but still asked, "Ruby will be coming too, right?" I wasn't sure what to make of it. They hadn't exactly introduced me well at the last gathering. "It's okay if I'm not invited," I declined, but my mom insisted, "No, you're coming. I'll make sure of it." So I ended up going to the party. On the day of the event, it suddenly started raining. My parents and I took a taxi to my brother's house. Because of the rain, my brother and his wife didn't come out to greet guests at the entrance. When we arrived, my mom turned to me and said, "You pay for the taxi," then hurried inside with my dad, both without umbrellas. That explains it, I thought. Our house was quite far from my brother's, and taking a taxi seemed extravagant. I ended up footing the bill for the ride. After paying, I rushed towards the entrance where Emma asked me, "Who are you?" We had only met once before. Maybe she forgot. Assuming so, I introduced myself again. "I'm Ruby, James's sister," I replied, trying to introduce myself. But Emma smiled and said casually, "Oh, the high school dropout, interesting. We didn't invite the freeloader living off their parents." My brother had just returned and overheard this. He looked at me with disdain and asked, "What are you doing here?" "James, I told you not to invite her. Why is she here?" Well, I'm not sure either. My brother clearly didn't want me there. Emma's attitude towards me changed once she learned who I was. Actually, she's even worse than my brother and parents. Would it have been better if I hadn't come? I asked my brother cautiously. "Yeah, you're practically a stranger with your lack of education. Not finishing high school doesn't even count," my brother replied coldly. Emma chimed in, siding with him. "Could you please leave the property now?" Her calm expression throughout was truly unsettling. "Got it," I said, turning away. The taxi we arrived in was gone, and since we weren't on a main road, finding another one looked tough. I didn't have an umbrella. I walked slowly, getting soaked in the rain. I could hear Emma laughing behind me. Eventually, I made it back home. My parents returned looking happy. They saw my wet face and asked, "Why did you leave suddenly? Couldn't you call a taxi to get back? You're so useless," my mom complained, like it was expected. "Sorry, I suddenly felt sick," I lied to cover up. "You left on your own over that? You're hopeless. Don't forget to give them the gift later, you're an adult," my dad scolded me. I had prepared a gift for the party but brought it back without giving it. I wanted to send it by mail, but I didn't have the address. I could ask my parents, but things felt awkward, so I decided to contact my brother instead. "I want to send a gift. Can you tell me the address?" That's all I asked my brother. His reply? "I don't give my address to strangers, okay?" I sighed deeply. Is it really amusing for him to assert dominance over me in private, not just embarrass me in front of others? It was baffling. Maybe Emma was there too, typing away and laughing at the situation. Either way, it was absurd. I gave up on sending a gift to congratulate my brother and his wife on their housewarming party. Instead, I decided to leave home. I realized I couldn't connect with my family anymore, so I chose to live independently. Despite only having part-time work, I had some savings. With that, I managed to rent a room and live on my own. It wasn't much, so I decided to try streaming videos in my spare time. I already enjoyed watching streams as a hobby and was good at spotting trends among popular streamers and finding ways to increase views. When I started streaming, I began earning tens of thousands of dollars each month. As my income grew, it covered all my living expenses. With the money I didn't need for daily life, I started investing, and those investments turned out successful. Encouraged by this, I ventured into running a small business importing and selling goods. I kept busy and felt fulfilled every day. I didn't have a family complaining about me spending too much time on a computer. A few months later, I received a call from my parents, who hadn't contacted me since I left home. "We need you to help James financially," they said. "Why?" I asked, genuinely curious. I wondered what had happened to my brother, who had just built a new house. Slowly, my parents began to explain the situation. "Apparently, after moving into his new house, your brother started hosting frequent parties and interacting with various people, bosses, executives, clients, and Emma's friends. During one of these gatherings, someone proposed an investment opportunity and your brother trusted them. He ended up losing a large amount of money, drawn in by the promise of quick, high returns." I was stunned. My brother had a stable job, so it seemed like such a big mistake could have been avoided if he had just focused on his work. "Who recommended this investment? Could it be a scam?" I asked. "No, it's not. It was suggested by one of Emma's friends," my parents replied, placing full trust in Emma. "How much money do you need?" I asked, shocked by the amount. It was far more than an ordinary company employee could easily lend. "Is that really how much my brother needs to borrow?" I hesitantly questioned my parents, fearing the answer I knew was coming. We were also approached with the same investment opportunity. My parents hesitated before admitting. "I can't come up with that much money easily, I'm sorry." I tried to end the call, but they insisted, saying, "We're your family, help us in times like these." "Family? It's too late for that. I'm busy, and I'm practically a stranger to you now, right?" With that, I hung up. Later, somehow they found out and showed up with my brother's family at the office of my company. I was in a meeting at the time. My secretary informed me, "There are guests here for you, Mr. President." "I don't have any other appointments scheduled." "Who are they?" I felt uneasy. I apologized to my business partner and briefly excused myself. When I reached the reception area, I saw my pregnant sister-in-law Emma, my brother, and my parents. "You're running a company, huh? It's much smaller than where I work," my brother smirked, glancing around my office. "Who are you?" I asked bluntly, pretending not to recognize them. "What's with the attitude?" my brother shouted, losing his temper. My mother stepped in and explained, "We discussed this before, but we really need your help. You're successful with your company, so you can support us, right?" She asked for money shamelessly, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Yeah, it's a critical time for our family. Emma is pregnant, and the baby's health isn't good, so we need to see a good doctor. Please, Ruby," my father and Emma added, making it sound like it was my responsibility to solve everyone's financial problems. Employees passing by the reception area glanced over with concern. Wanting to end the situation quickly, I said firmly, "Please leave. You're causing a disturbance." My brother erupted in anger again. "What? We're a disturbance? We came all this way and that's how you talk to your family?" he yelled. The employees stopped to listen, facing them. My brother started causing a scene. "Do you all know she dropped out of middle school? She was a recluse, no good." He seemed determined to humiliate me into giving him money. However, the employees responded in a way my brother didn't anticipate. "We know. Everyone is aware of the president's background, including me. The president hires many people from similar situations. Is there an issue?" One of my employees responded calmly. My brother, who usually socializes only with highly educated and wealthy individuals, seemed taken aback and stumbled over his words. Well," my father began. "What a sorry excuse for a company, just a gathering of misfits." My brother joined in. "Exactly. Companies that do business with a place like this can't be any good either," he shouted loudly. At that moment, the president of the company I was meeting with stepped out of the reception room, having heard the commotion. My brother's expression turned blank, then pale as he faced the man. The president approached him directly. "What's the matter, James?" Emma asked my brother. "Idiot, don't say my name," my brother whispered urgently to Emma, but it was too late. "James? Oh, it's you," the company president said as he walked up to my brother. "You are the guy who manages the division at Mr. Long's company, right? We greatly appreciate your company's services." It turned out that his company was also a client of my brother's business. My brother was visibly sweating, his face flushed with embarrassment. Well, I suppose we're not that memorable since we're not a big company," my brother faltered when the president turned his own words against him. He visibly froze. Sensing the tension, my father, mother, and Emma fell silent. Ignoring them, I apologized to the president again, determined to defuse the situation. "I'm sorry for taking up your valuable time. I'll ask them to leave." "Oh, are you sure?" I have time today, so I don't mind waiting. Your family is important, the president offered. No, they're not my family, I asserted, glancing at my parents' and brother's family. They're complete strangers. Following that, my parents' and brother's family were escorted out of the company. Perhaps stunned by the president's unexpected intervention, they left quietly. Curious about how my business became exposed, I decided to investigate. It turned out Emma was the catalyst. She had a friend who was well connected in investment circles and always kept informed. This friend came across information about a young woman in her 20s who was gaining recognition as a skilled trader and company owner. Emma was shocked to see a photo of this woman in the media and realized it was her husband's sister, whom she had heard was a middle school dropout. Emma shared this discovery with my brother and parents, suggesting they approach me for financial help. When their attempts to reach me during the day went unanswered, and I didn't return their calls about money, they showed up at my company. Since I had been treating them as strangers, I decided to distance myself from them. However, my curiosity led me to look into Emma's friend who had been involved in my family's financial troubles. To my surprise, that friend turned out to be Emma's ex-boyfriend, and it appeared they were still connected in some way. The situation with Emma turned out to be even more shocking. The child she was carrying wasn't my brother's but actually belonged to the investor she had been involved with. No way! My brother was devastated, understandably so, as everything had been based on lies. It became apparent that she had been manipulating several men for money under the guidance of her ex-boyfriend. Naturally, my brother and Emma divorced, and both of them are now in police custody. Unfortunately, the money lost in the investment won't be recovered anytime soon. Following the incident at my company, my brother's career took a downturn. Despite being in his 20s, he was moved to a less prominent department and eventually resigned, likely frustrated by the financial troubles and personal turmoil. As for my father, he faced repercussions after the president witnessed him losing his temper with a subcontractor at work. An investigation into his behavior led to his termination. It came to light that he had a history of belittling those without higher education, similar to how he used to treat me. So both my brother and father ended up losing their jobs. Despite their decreased income, the former family still tries to contact me, suggesting we live together again. With everything that happened, we're still family, right? They try different tactics to cling to me, but my response remains consistent. I don't know you. You're complete strangers to me. I have no intention of giving any other response in the future. I've made sure they can't enter my company's building anymore, so they can't force their way in.
I'm in charge of the household, and my rules are final. If you don't follow them, we'll get a divorce. Even though my husband was cheating on me, he still tried to boss me around. Why should I do everything he says? If that's how it's going to be, let's just get a divorce. I put all the loans in his name so he would see how much I contributed to our life together. My name is Belle. I'm 36 years old and work as a systems engineer. I've been married to my husband Derek for 6 years. We met through work because my company hired his company for some projects. When I was working for his company as a temp, he was very nice to me. We started hanging out outside of work, dated for a while, and then he proposed. I said yes. When I got married, I left my job at the company. Working as an engineer was very demanding and stressful, and the pay wasn't great. I was worried that if I kept working like that, I wouldn't have enough time for my husband, and our relationship would suffer. So I decided to become a freelancer. This way, I could have more time for household chores and to be with my husband. At first, freelancing didn't make much money, but I had engineering experience. Gradually, I got more clients and my income grew. I was surprised at how quickly things improved and was thankful for my husband's financial support during that time. I worked hard on housework, even though cooking wasn't my strong point. I used recipe books to try different meals to keep my husband happy. Thanks for cooking and cleaning. It really helps me out, he said. His praise made me feel good. In the beginning, we respected each other and had a happy life. But after a few years, my husband suddenly suggested, "Isn't it time for us to get a new house?" Huh? A new house? I was shocked when my husband brought it up. He's not the type to save money. Well, shouldn't we save a bit more first? I asked. What are you talking about? I earn a good income, don't I? Yeah, but we haven't had any financial issues since we got married, I said, even though I wanted to mention that it was because of my income too. Although he gave me money for household expenses, he always used up his own allowance before payday. So I saved as much as I could from my own freelancing income and added it to our budget. That's how we managed to live comfortably without any financial problems. I was thankful for his income when we first got married, which is why I didn't tell him that my freelancing income had grown. I didn't want to hurt his feelings by revealing how much I was actually making. Even if I felt like we might have spent too much, our lifestyle hadn't changed. I realized my income had probably increased and wondered if my husband didn't fully understand his own finances. I was surprised by his excitement about building a new house, and I didn't know how to stop him. "What kind of house are you thinking of?" I asked, trying to find a way to build something affordable while considering his preferences. But he kept adding more and more features. "If we want to include all of these, the house will be very expensive," I said. "It's not a big deal. It's a once-in-a-lifetime purchase, and my income should cover it, right?" he replied. I was puzzled about how he came to that conclusion. I regretted not telling him about my increased income and decided it was time to do so to help him understand. "Direct, about the household expenses, I actually contribute a significant amount from my income too," I said. For some reason, he didn't believe me. "Come on, don't be so slow about this." "I'm not lying," I insisted. I wanted us to buy a more affordable house, but my husband didn't listen. He used his salary to take out a loan for a house that was stretching our budget. At first, I thought we were managing our money well, but over time, his spending got out of control. He started buying expensive clothes and watches and went out drinking every night with his colleagues. Even though he worked extra hours to cover these costs, his spending was hard to ignore. Despite all this, he was determined to build a house, and eventually he managed to do it. "Wow, this is a really nice house," I said. "A house is a clear sign of success, isn't it?" he said. He was right. The new house is amazing. It's spacious, beautiful, and comfortable. My workroom is bigger now, so I can fit a large desk and work more comfortably. This has made me more productive, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm still anxious about our monthly mortgage payments. My husband doesn't seem to understand that we're paying off a long-term loan every month. The house is in his name, but he tends to overspend, so his account is often empty. Because of this, I have to transfer my income into his account just to cover the mortgage. I'm getting frustrated with him, so one day, I decided to talk about it. "Don't you think you've been spending too much lately?" I asked. "I need you to think about things like the mortgage for the house," I said. My husband frowned and replied, "What are you talking about? We've been living normally since we bought the house." "If that's the case, then there's no problem. You're just stressing over small details. And isn't it because you manage your money poorly that you're short? That's not my issue." "What? Wait a minute. I'm always trying to save money from the daily expenses with the money you give me, and I'm also using my own earnings to cover the mortgage and other costs. So please don't talk to me like that. What's your problem? Besides, the amount you're contributing isn't that much, so don't act like it's a big deal. The one who earns the most is the best, and that's me. Don't try to give me advice," my husband said, trying to shut me down. I was shocked by how my husband had changed. He used to be kind and caring, but now our relationship felt strained. We barely talked, and sometimes we didn't even greet each other. He worked overtime more than ever and came home late at night. I started to question if it was okay to continue living like this. We were just coexisting under one roof without meaningful conversations. Maybe it would be better to get a divorce. But if there was a chance to fix things, I wanted to try. After thinking it over, I decided to take the first step and reach out to him. But my efforts were crushed when I saw him in town one day. I had gone out to buy a birthday gift for a friend. It was a weekday, so my husband should have been at work. But instead, I saw him in town, dressed casually, walking with a young woman I didn't recognize. I was stunned and immediately thought he might be having an affair. To find out the truth, I hired a private investigator. After about 3 weeks, I got the results and went to the detective agency. It turned out my husband was indeed having an affair. The woman was his colleague, and the relationship had been going on for about 2 years. I finally understood why my husband had started spending so much and coming home late. It was because he was having an affair. I was furious, especially after all the verbal abuse he had directed at me. He was the one being unfaithful. I felt foolish for trying to protect his feelings and our marriage. I decided to stop doubting and take action right away. When I rushed home, my husband was sitting on the sofa watching sports. I stood in front of the TV and laid out the evidence of his affair in front of him. "Explain this," I demanded. At first he looked surprised, but his expression quickly changed. "Oh, that's Meg. She's my new wife." "New wife? What are you talking about?" "Well, now that you know, there's no point in hiding it. Unfortunately, you're no longer needed." "What are you saying?" Frankly, I don't need you in my life anymore. But Meg doesn't want to do housework, so you can stay and take care of that for her. What? Are you out of your mind? I would never do that. When I said that, my husband's face turned red with anger. I'm the breadwinner here, so my rules are final. If he can't follow them, then it's divorce. Even though he was having an affair, he was still trying to control me. Why should I listen to him? Fine, let's get a divorce. Huh? You had an affair, so we can't stay married. Let's just get a divorce. He was surprised but soon agreed. Okay, but don't come crying to me later. But you need to help me change the names on the utility bills and the car loans we just took out. I changed all the loans into my husband's name and got divorced. He probably thought it was over, but for me, it was just the beginning. You should realize how much I supported you. The day after the divorce was finalized, I was already settling into my new apartment. Then, I got a bunch of calls from my ex-husband. Since he hadn't paid me any compensation yet, I hadn't blocked his number. When I answered, he sounded flustered and said he needed to talk. I reluctantly agreed to meet him at a cafe, but he showed up with his mistress. Well, you two seem to be getting along. What's this about? Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He looked upset and said, every month I'm getting hit with a huge amount for loans. Why are the food expenses, car loans, utilities, and everything else so high? What are you trying to do by leaving all that on me? I divorced you and moved out, so it's only fair. I don't have any other intentions, I replied. Shut up. This is fraud. I'll sue you, he said. My ex-husband and his mistress glared at me, holding each other's arms. They both blamed me, but I couldn't accept their absurd accusations. It's your fault for not understanding the situation. I showed you the documents, didn't I? The house loan was in your name, so it's only fair you pay it. I've been transferring the necessary money into your account. How could you, with your small income, cover all that? As someone with a poor grasp of the situation, I explained calmly. I was working as a freelance engineer and making around $200,000 a year. Is that true? He asked, clearly shocked by how much I was earning compared to him. It didn't matter if he was surprised or not. What mattered was that I hadn't received proper compensation yet, so I planned to pursue it through a lawyer. Are you trying to swindle money from us? He demanded. I'm just claiming what's rightfully mine. I'll also be making claims against your mistress, I said. I received compensation from both of them for the emotional distress they had caused me. My ex-husband's mistress was devastated to find out he wasn't using his own money to pay for the loan. The next day, she disappeared from his life. Their affair ended just like any other when the money ran out. Now my ex-husband lives a lonely life, struggling to pay off his loan and make ends meet while commuting between work and home. He's facing the consequences he deserves, but he couldn't handle it and started spreading news about his affair at work. His mistress claimed he was abusing her, leading to a messy quarrel. Since neither of them was credible, no one believed their claims. His financial troubles worsened, and he was eventually demoted and received a pay cut due to his inability to focus on work because of his mounting debts. It's all his own fault, and frankly, he brought it on himself. As for me, I was nervous at first when I moved into my new high-rise apartment, but now I'm enjoying my life here. I'm not interested in marriage or romance for a while, but that doesn't mean I want to be alone forever. If I meet someone in the future, I hope we can build a supportive relationship based on what I've learned from this experience. For now, I'm focusing on working hard and making the most of my time for myself.
My name is Emily, and I'm 35 years old. For the past 10 years, I've been taking care of our home. My husband, Michael, is a doctor. We don't have any children, but we've been pretty happy. Then one day, everything changed. Michael came home late as usual and told me something shocking. I want a divorce. I'm marrying someone else, he said. I was stunned. What do you mean? I asked. We didn't marry for love, he added, and he was right. Our marriage was more of an arrangement. His parents wanted him to marry, and I seemed like a good match. We barely knew each other before we got married. The only thing we really had in common was our last name. Looking back, maybe I liked the idea of sharing the same last name, so we rushed into marriage, and for a while, things were okay. I never thought we'd end up divorcing after 10 years. Even though our marriage wasn't based on love, we'd been together for so long. But now, out of the blue, you want to marry someone else. When did you start betraying me? I asked, but Michael denied it. He said he met this nurse at the hospital about a year ago and was attracted to her charm. He said he was tired of living with someone as boring as me. I was shocked and hurt. How can you say that after all these years? I asked. But Michael was cold. He said living with me had been like hell, and he was done. I agreed to the divorce, even though it broke my heart. Then Michael revealed something else. We don't even need to go through the legal process because I never officially registered our marriage. We were just living together, not legally married. I felt betrayed and angry. Michael had kept this secret from me all these years, and now he was using it to avoid giving me anything in the divorce. The day we thought our marriage would be registered was actually the day it officially ended. I couldn't go because of an urgent matter, he said, but it turns out I never submitted it. Not submitted? Are you joking? We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. It's impossible that you didn't submit it, I exclaimed. Normally, yes. But I made that rule at the beginning. If you went to the office, everything would be ruined. When we got married, we made some rules. I, as a homemaker, would handle all the household chores. I was on an allowance and part-time work was prohibited. And Michael would handle all governmental and official matters. Why would you do such a thing? I asked. Because I was about to be forced into a marriage with someone I didn't love. I wasn't going to submit it easily. I was saving marriage for someone I truly wanted to be with. Then you should have refused the marriage proposal in the first place. I couldn't refuse. My parents are stubborn and wouldn't listen. What would have happened if I said I didn't want to marry? Plus, I wanted a housekeeper. I'm a busy doctor and can't often tend to household chores, so I decided to marry you as a housekeeper. It was a good deal for you too, right? You could eat well and have a roof over your head without working. You seemed desperate to get married too. Maybe you felt pressured because your friends were getting married. Even though we weren't actually married, you were seen as the woman who married a doctor. This 10-year relationship was a win-win for both of us. That's all it was, and it ends today. You should be grateful for the good times you had. Now you have to live on your own without relying on others. I can't believe this. Oh, and one more thing. Don't tell my parents about this. If you do something unnecessary, you know what will happen to your father, right? My father runs a medical equipment sales company and has a contract with the hospital where Michael works. Our marriage was how this connection was made. Michael was threatening me, implying that if I told his parents he would sever the contract with my father's company. It's your fault for being deceived. How pitiful to be thrown out with nothing, he said, laughing. But the one who would be thrown out without knowing anything was actually him. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. What's so funny all of a sudden? He asked. I can't believe you became a doctor with that kind of knowledge, I said. What do you mean? He asked. I knew all along about your mistress and that you didn't submit our marriage registration. That's impossible. That's why I've been preparing, waiting for the day you'd bring it up yourself. I continued, I had a gut feeling about your infidelity for the past 6 months, but I lacked solid evidence to confront you. So I decided to hire a private investigator to look into your affair. The investigator told me, ma'am, there are 2 things I need to tell you. The first is that your husband is indeed having an affair. We got evidence of him entering a hotel with a nurse from his workplace. And the second is from their conversations. There's a possibility that you two are not legally married. Not legally married? What does that mean? I asked. I'd overheard your husband and his mistress at a cafe, the investigator continued. He said they didn't need to worry about alimony or property division since they never submitted a marriage registration. What? I can't believe it. We've been living as a married couple for 10 years. I don't know why he didn't submit the marriage registration. That's why he never let me handle any official procedures. Yeah, that seems to be the case. I can't believe this. How could this happen? It's unusual to hear about not submitting a marriage registration for 10 years, but it's not unheard of. This is too much. Am I just supposed to accept this? If we were never married from the start, there's nothing I can do. Not necessarily. What do you mean? Let's make him pay for deceiving you for 10 years. First, we need to prepare without him noticing, the investigator suggested. So I started preparing with the investigator to take action against my husband. So what if you knew we were never legally married from the start? Does that justify your actions with other women? Do you think you can avoid taking any responsibility? He said, trying to dismiss his actions. You called me pitiful for not knowing the truth, but it turns out you were the one who was pitiful. What do you mean? We're considered to be in a common law relationship on paper, so what? You might not know, but you can actually claim alimony and divide property in a common law relationship. What? He didn't know that not registering our marriage would come back to bite him. In a common law relationship, you can make claims. It's not widely known, but it's possible. Of course, there are conditions. From what I see in your case, it seems you meet those conditions. What are these conditions? The common law relationship is established based on 2 main criteria. First, both parties must have intended to marry. It's not just about living together, there must be a mutual intention to marry. This can be shown through things like having a wedding ceremony or being recognized as a couple by others. We did have a wedding ceremony, and our families and friends recognize us as a couple, so we meet the first criterion. The second criterion is living as if married. This includes sharing a household for more than 3 years. You've been living together as a couple for over 10 years. As a homemaker, you've obviously shared the household finances. This is recognized as a marital relationship. So that means if you can provide proof of what we discussed, you can claim alimony and divide property. I'm not an expert in this area, so I'll introduce you to a lawyer. You can work with them to bring him down. After consulting the lawyer I was referred to, I learned that I could indeed claim alimony and property division from my husband. I'm going to demand alimony and property division from you, I informed my husband, who turned pale. His confidence, which had been evident just a moment ago, was gone. But even if you can claim alimony and property division, you're just an unemployed woman. Do you plan to rely on your parents after being kicked out? He asked. Didn't I say I was preparing? I've already found a job starting next month. I've also found a new place to live. Don't worry about me. You thought I, a clueless homemaker, would be helpless, but the tables have turned. I'll make sure to discuss this with your parents, just so you know. Do you not care what happens to your father? If they want to break the contract, let them. Sure, you were the link to the hospital, but the contract continued because of my father and his company's efforts. Whether or not they keep the contract is up to them. Let's see if they'll break a contract just because the doctor's wife of 10 years was a lie. Try saying that. My father and I won't be affected if the contract is broken over this. It only shows the depth of their trust. We'll just find another hospital to partner with, I said firmly, taking out my phone. You're not calling your parents, are you? He asked nervously. That's exactly what I'm doing. Our parents think we're still married. It's only natural to inform them if this relationship is ending. To my surprise, my husband began to apologize. Please let me talk to them. Don't call. Why? You know how strict my parents are. If they find out about this, it's over. What does that have to do with me? Huh? You're asking me not to tell the truth because your parents are strict? Are you kidding? You could have refused to marry me from the start if you didn't intend to. After 10 years of a marriage based on lies, you're afraid of your parents finding out. I can't accept such a convenient story, but I can accept telling them the truth. I'll make sure both your parents and mine know everything. And so I called both sets of parents. All 4 were shocked upon hearing my story, and a meeting was promptly arranged at our house. I've heard everything over the phone. Is it true that you pretended to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration? Speak up, you foolish son, my father-in-law demanded. It's true. I didn't submit it. Why did you do that? Didn't you think about how Emily would feel? I didn't have a choice. No choice? How can you say that? It's your fault, Mom and Dad. I didn't want to get married, but you started looking for a bride for me anyway, saying it was time. You arranged meetings and pressured me into marriage. But you agreed to it, didn't you? I had to agree. If I had refused, you would have caused a scene, so I decided to go through with it. If you were willing to marry, why didn't you register the marriage? I read about a man online who was in the same situation. He didn't want to marry but had to because of his parents. He lived as if married without registering, then revealed the truth when he found someone he truly loved. That's shocking. What happened to him in the end? Now he's married to the person he loves and has a real marriage, so I plan to marry my girlfriend too and have a real marriage. After hearing his explanation, my parents, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke up. A real marriage, huh? Maybe you didn't marry for love, but remember what you promised at the wedding? We will always care for each other and create a happy home. What did those words mean to you? What did you show us back then? We trusted you with our daughter's happiness, but for 10 years you deceived her by not registering the marriage. Did you create a happy home? And now you're leaving her for another woman. Can someone who acts without care, even if they change partners, truly have a real marriage? Well, we were glad you married our daughter, not just because you're a doctor. We thought she could build a happy life with someone as sincere as you. But it seems we were wrong and missiled. And you threatened our daughter that if she told us, you'd end your business contract with us. Really? If you're going to threaten our daughter, we'll end the contract ourselves. Be warned, we will speak the truth when asked. If you do that, there will be gossip at the hospital. Gossip? Yes, maybe, but that's because of what you did. You were the one who threatened us with ending the contract. My husband panicked at this unexpected turn. Please, let's talk about this calmly. Don't play games with us. My father-in-law grabbed my husband's collar, furious. We didn't raise you to be a scoundrel. What were you thinking? Dad, please stop. By not registering the marriage, you may have thought you were protecting yourself, but because of your selfish actions, Emily was missiled for 10 years. What were you thinking, causing so much trouble to others? The room fell silent. Faced with my father-in-law's words, my husband had nothing more to say. Emily and her parents, I'm really sorry for the trouble caused by this idiot. No, your parents shouldn't apologize. It's not their fault. But as parents, we partly bear responsibility for letting him behave this way. We'll take him home now and ensure he stops his reckless actions. We'll handle the aftermath properly. We're deeply sorry for all of this. With that, my husband was taken away by his parents to their home. You've been through so much. You should come back home for now and rest. We'll figure out the next steps later. Don't worry about anything right now, my parents said kindly. Thank you, but I'm not going back home just yet. There are things I need to take care of. I declined and chose to stay in my own home. What I needed to do was prepare for the final settlement with my now ex-husband, gathering evidence for our common law relationship. I was preparing to claim alimony and divide our assets. A few weeks later, I arranged a meeting with a lawyer. Even if I agree to alimony, why should I divide my property? She's been a homemaker for 10 years, never worked a day. I paid for everything: furniture, clothes, food. Now you're saying I have to give away the money I worked hard for. He protested, unwilling to accept sharing his earnings with me. Yes, that's correct. Your earnings and the belongings acquired during our relationship are subject to division. Why does it have to be like this? Who took care of the house and cooked meals while you were at work? Who managed everything at home? That doesn't matter now. No, it does matter. A homemaker deserves a share of the assets because running a household and raising children have real economic value. Speaking not just as a lawyer but as a person, do you think housework is something anyone can do, something that's just expected of a homemaker? The reason you could focus on your career was because of her support. Don't overlook that. What? This situation is a consequence of your actions, yet you're upset about fairness. What did you say? Never mind. Anyway, she's entitled to half of our assets through property division. That's how it works. Damn. As for alimony, we're seeking $100,000 from you. $100,000? Why so much for a relationship that wasn't even legally married? It's precisely because it wasn't a legal marriage. Typically, alimony in common law relationships ranges from $10,000 to $40,000. However, in your case, you pretended to be married for 10 years and then tried to discard her when you found someone else. The amount is based on the seriousness and duration of your actions. But still, you might think 10 years is short, but it's longer than you realize. During that time, she committed herself to you, believing you were married. You have no right to complain after betraying her. It was a powerful response. He had no rebuttal and reluctantly agreed to my terms. Later, I also sent a notice of claim for alimony to his mistress. With the help of an investigator, I knew who she was and where she worked, a nurse at the same hospital where he did. Wait, this isn't what you told me. What's going on? I told you not to approach me at work. I received this from your wife. You said there wouldn't be any alimony because we weren't legally married. What's going on? Later, I found out that in a panic after receiving the alimony claim from me, she confronted him at the hospital with the notice. All right, let's talk about this later, not here. There are too many people around. We'll both be in trouble if this gets out. I don't care about that. I can't afford this kind of alimony. You said it would be fine, so you should pay it. What? I'm not paying anything. You wanted this relationship. You said I was the one for you, that you wanted to marry me. Hey, keep it down. Everyone can hear us. Just so you know, I'm not the one at fault here. If you want to settle things with your wife, handle it yourself. Tell her I don't know her anything, and that you'll sort everything out. Wait. This conversation ended up exposing their affair to the entire hospital, quickly becoming the talk of the place. Then came the final blow when my father requested to terminate our contract with the hospital. I apologize, but we'd like to end our contract by the end of next month. Aware of the rumors, the hospital inquired, forgive me for asking, but is the reason for canceling related to Dr. Michael's affair? It's become quite a topic here. Yes, a nurse believed to be involved caused quite a scene. I never imagined he had pretended to be married for 10 years without actually registering. You mean he never filed the marriage registration? Did you know he hadn't done that? All I knew was that he was married and had an affair. What do you mean he didn't file the marriage registration? After my father's request, it came to light that he had deceived me for 10 years by not filing the marriage registration. This news spread among the other nurses. Dr. Michael deceived his wife for 10 years by not filing the marriage registration and had an affair with a nurse. How awful. How could he do that? Could someone really go unnoticed for 10 years? It seems Emily's maiden name was the same, and he handled all the official paperwork. That's concerning. The rumors spread not only among hospital staff but also reached patients, leading both Michael and his mistress to face cold stares. Unable to bear it, they both resigned from the hospital soon after. As my father asked me, Did you manage to get the alimony? Yes, I received payments from both him and his mistress. She resisted paying until the end, claiming she was also deceived, but the lawyer explained her argument wouldn't hold, and she reluctantly agreed to pay. That's good. What about you, Dad? Did the contract end up getting cancelled? No, that's not happening anymore. He resigned, and because our company is trusted, the hospital asked us to keep the contract. We couldn't cancel it after they asked like that. That's a relief. Afterwards, I started a new life in a new place and found happiness. About a year and a half later, my ex-husband reached out to me. Is it true you got remarried? I had married a man I met through work, and somehow he had found out. I wonder whose number this is. You went through the trouble of changing your number just to contact me. Just answer my question. Yes, I got married. You betrayed me. Betrayal? We were never legally married, so I didn't think it would matter to you, right? That's beside the point. Exactly, things are different now. We're completely separated, so my marriage has nothing to do with you. Is that why you contacted me? After I said this, he seemed speechless for a moment, then he scoffed. Of course you're still unmarried, probably because you haven't bothered to file any paperwork. That's just like you. But he was mistaken. Actually, my husband isn't like you at all. He knows everything about your situation, so to ease any concerns I had, we went together to handle the paperwork. Unfortunately for you, things didn't turn out as you assumed. I can understand why you might wish for my unhappiness, given your own misery, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. We're happily married. I told him this and hung up the phone. I don't know what kind of life he leads now, but unless he changes his selfish ways, he's unlikely to find happiness. I have a new girlfriend now, and I'm moving in with her. We're getting a divorce, and you should go stay with your parents. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't need you anymore. If you want, you can live with my parents and take care of the house. Julian, you get it. My in-laws and my husband laugh at me. They're terrible people. But for me, this is better, so all of you need to leave. My name is Julianne, and I'm 35 years old. I work in an office. I've spent my whole life working. After college, I started working for a big company. For 13 years, I worked hard and earned promotions. Now I'm a department manager at a young age. I have a great boss and a team of talented coworkers. Work is fulfilling, but my personal life hasn't been. I had a boyfriend in college, but none since I started working. Worried about me, a friend hosted a dinner party where I met Jake. He was kind, had a nice smile, and we had a lot in common. We became friends, exchanged numbers, and started going out to eat together. Eventually, he told me he liked me, and we started dating. We got along great. He proposed, and we got married. I was overjoyed to marry the man I loved deeply. Soon after, I visited his parents' home to meet them. They were very kind and warmly welcomed me. Julian, it's wonderful to meet you. I can't believe such a lovely person is marrying our Jake, they said with tears in their eyes. We're so proud of our son for bringing such a good woman here. Hey Mom and Dad, cut it out. You're scaring Julianne. Oh dear, if you really feel that way, you can say so. It's just a compliment, so don't worry. His parents were very friendly and easy to talk to, much like him. Julianne works for a big company, right? Yes, she does. It's impressive to see a woman who works hard. Will you stop working after you're married? No, I plan to keep working. Well, having a stable job at a good company is a good thing. I felt relieved. Some of my friends had mothers-in-law who urged them to quit their jobs, saying it was a wife's duty to support her husband, so I was grateful. I thought to myself that my future mother-in-law was understanding and kind. After we greeted my parents, we got married. I was filled with excitement about our new life together. My husband moved into my house, and we started our life as newlyweds. I was thrilled to spend all my time with him at home and to have him there when I returned from work. 8 months later, my husband brought up something he wanted to talk about. I'd like us to live with my parents if you're okay with it. What do you mean, live with them? Yes, they're getting older and I'm worried about them. I understand. My parents are around the same age, but my brother and his wife are living with them now, so they're taken care of. But since you're an only child, it makes sense that you're concerned about your parents. Are we moving in with them? Yes, that's the idea. But I'm not sure if there's a spare room available. They use every room for one reason or another. Actually, if you're okay with it, I think it would be a good idea to renovate my parents' house and turn it into a duplex. A duplex? Yeah, that could be a lot more affordable than buying a new house. We get to live in a nice, spacious home and still have our own privacy, right? I think so too. It sounds like a great idea. My in-laws are nice people and living in separate units would make things less stressful. Great, I'm glad you're on board. My parents will be thrilled. I was happy to see my husband so pleased. Later, when my in-laws visited, they were very grateful too. They were such a kind and cheerful family that I didn't mind the idea of living close to them. Soon after our discussion about renovating their house, my husband surprised me with a remark. Actually, I need to ask you a favor. Could you pay for the remodeling? You mean, cover the entire cost? Yes. Why? My husband seemed uneasy. The truth is, we're in debt. I was shocked. Neither my husband nor his parents had ever mentioned this before, not when we were dating or even after we got married. How much debt are we talking about? About $250,000. What? I thought it might be a few tens of thousands, but that's a lot more than I expected, I exclaimed. It must have started small and just kept growing. Even if I wanted to help pay it off, it sounds impossible. My parents are already living on a pension, and the debt keeps piling up. I see. I couldn't hide my surprise and dismay at this sudden revelation. Julienne, I need your help. Will you assist me in paying off my father and father-in-law's debt? They're struggling financially and my own income isn't substantial either. Doesn't that make it difficult for us to renovate the house and live together as planned? No, that's still important to us. You've asked me to cover the remodeling costs and my father's debt, which amounts to $250,000. I understand. These are tough decisions, but I want to build a life with you, Julienne, and I want to support my parents. I love both of them, and I love you. I hate to ask this, but if you truly love me, please help me out. I promise to repay you gradually. I was deeply upset. My husband and his parents had no one else to turn to but me. I knew my husband loved me sincerely, but I felt blindsided by this revelation. Love can sometimes make us overlook such challenges, I thought to myself. All right, I'll take care of it, I reluctantly agreed. After my husband expressed his gratitude and shook my hand, he shared the news with my in-laws, who later came to our house to apologize. My mother-in-law was so moved that she even shed tears of joy. I have to give this my all, I resolved. Taking on my in-laws' debt was now my responsibility, and I was determined to handle it. Though I had some savings, I was apprehensive about paying it all at once. Therefore, I decided to use $60,000 from my savings and pay the rest in installments. During our discussion on repayment, I laid out my installment plan, and my in-laws agreed that it was acceptable. Why don't you transfer the money directly into the debt repayment account? We're not very good at managing finances, and I'm a bit hesitant about handling a large sum, my husband suggested. My in-laws nodded in agreement. Transferring funds first to their account and then to the repayment account would be cumbersome. Since it was a substantial amount, I didn't want there to be any confusion, so I agreed to transfer the money directly. Once everything was settled, my in-laws appeared visibly relieved. Now we don't have to worry about the monthly debt payments. It's been really stressful. Dad, Mom, you should really thank Julienne properly. Well, I can't count how many times I've thanked you. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that Julienne is my son's wife. No, please, it's okay, I insisted. I'm just happy to see you both happy. However, deep down, I felt a bit uneasy, concerned they might view me solely as a financial resource. Despite this, I was committed to caring for my beloved husband's family. With their happiness in mind, I began making the payments, and we renovated our house into a two-family home. We started living together in a beautiful and spacious house. My in-laws were thrilled, and my husband's eyes sparkled with joy in our new home. I enjoyed cooking in the new kitchen and appreciated the renovations. It made things more convenient and closer to my work, cutting down my commute and giving me more time for personal pursuits, like studying. I worked tirelessly every day to pay off the debt. However, something troubled me deeply. My husband didn't contribute anything towards paying off his parents' debt. Despite his initial promise to help, he never used any of his own earnings for this purpose. When I asked him about it, he claimed his salary wasn't sufficient. I requested to see his pay stubs, but he refused, leaving me in the dark about his income. For about a year, I diligently worked to reduce the debt. One day, my in-laws inquired about the remaining balance. If it's been a year, you must have made a dent in the debt, right? We've managed to pay off about $60,000 this year, so there's still roughly $180,000 left, I explained. My in-laws were astonished. What? You've already paid off that much, Julienne? That's incredible. At this rate, you'll clear the debt in about 5 years. I'm determined to keep working hard until it's paid off, I assured them. Thank you so much, my husband's parents said, crying tears of joy. Seeing them so happy made all the hard work worth it. A few days later, I faced a surprise. I had to work extra hours, so I told my husband I would be home late. But the work went well, and we finished on time. I hurried home, planning to cook dinner for my family. When I opened the door, I saw my in-laws' shoes. Oh, my in-laws are here, I thought. I walked towards the living room and overheard my in-laws and husband talking. You were smart to marry her, Jake. You did well. I can't believe she's so wealthy. When I found out she works for a big company, I made sure to be careful and win her over. You should appreciate her more. Wow, you're one of the people who caused that debt. What? But I owe the least. What are you talking about? How much did you spend on horse racing? Your gambling is terrible. I hit the jackpot once in a while, so sometimes we were actually ahead. How can we be ahead when we owe $250,000? But at this rate, we'll be able to pay off the debt and get back on track. That's really great. And she even remodeled our house. I've got a really good wife. Well, I'll dump her once she pays off the debt, my husband and in-laws laughed. I was so shocked I couldn't move from the front door for a while. After calming down a bit, I made a loud noise closing the door and announced, "I'm home." When I entered the living room, my in-laws and husband greeted me with smiles. "Oh, Julianne, welcome home. Good job, good job. Well, we're going back to our room. Let's have dinner together again soon." Their gentle smiles terrified me because I had overheard their earlier conversation. It shocked me to see my husband pretending to be a loving husband with that smile on his face. "Why didn't you tell me you had to work late today?" "I did, but I finished earlier than expected, so I rushed home to cook dinner." I tried my best to act calm until dinner so my husband wouldn't suspect I had heard anything. Later, while he was taking a bath, I stayed in my room and cried alone. Crying as hard as I could fueled my determination to get back at my husband and in-laws. From then on, I acted swiftly. I started preparing for divorce and made plans for my future. About 5 months passed. I pretended to be happy and told my husband that I had paid off my in-laws' debt. My husband was shocked. "What? You paid off the debt? The $250,000? That was supposed to take about 5 years, right?" I actually have quite a bit of money saved up, but I was afraid to pay it all off at once. So I started making gradual payments from my salary and savings. But now we're below $200,000, and I thought it would be better to clear the debt in one go. "I see," he said. Then I asked, "Would you like to verify?" and showed him the bank book. "Oh, it's true. You paid $180,000 in one go." My husband tried to hide his excitement, but I could tell he was eager to leave. "Wow, Julianne, thank you. My parents are going to be thrilled." He pretended to wipe tears from his eyes, but I knew it was just an act. Soon after, my in-laws arrived and expressed their gratitude. "Thank you so much. We're so grateful to have met Julianne. You're like a blessing." If I hadn't known the truth, their thanks would have made me happy. But I knew their true feelings and I only pretended to be nice because I was preparing for my plan. A few days later, my husband asked to talk to me. He looked very serious. "What's going on?" I asked. "I'm sorry, Julianne, but you have to leave me." "What do you mean?" I acted surprised deliberately. "I have a new girlfriend and I'm moving in with her. So I'm divorcing you. You'll go stay with my parents." Jake's sudden statement shocked me. While I had overheard their earlier conversation about him planning to leave once the debt was paid, I didn't expect him to openly admit his infidelity. "What does he mean by sending me to his parents' place?" "I don't understand," I said. My husband's demeanor turned cold. "You're not very understanding. I don't need you anymore, but you can stay here as a provider or housekeeper." Then the front door opened and my in-laws walked in. "Jake, did you finally tell her?" "Yes, I did. Wish I could have seen her face," Jake replied. "You can move in with us if you do the chores. We'll charge you rent, of course." My in-laws and husband laughed at me. They were the worst. "All of you need to leave," I said firmly. My in-laws scoffed at my remark. "What are you talking about? Have you forgotten? I can easily pay for the house renovation myself. I changed the house title to my name, so I have the right to decide who stays and who goes." My in-laws looked shocked when they remembered the house title was in my name now. I was stunned by their audacity. "I'm sorry, but you can't live here anymore. If we divorce, you'll be strangers," I told them firmly. My in-laws realized the gravity of the situation, but my husband, not wanting to be outdone, argued back. "But you took on our debt and paid it off. You're the one losing money. If we didn't have debt, we could afford to move out." "That's right," my in-laws and husband agreed. "Thanks for letting us live in this nice house while you paid off our debts." "I'm sorry, but I didn't pay off the remaining $180,000 debt." "What? But your bank book showed money missing." "That money was from a separate account I managed. The debt remains at $180,000. I delayed the collection process by making continuous large payments, but it's time for the remaining amount to be paid, and you are responsible for it." My husband and in-laws were stunned. Then I confronted them further. "Jake, you admitted to cheating, so you'll need to pay. I'll also seek compensation from your partner for the affair." "Oh no, she only stayed with me because she thought I had money and a house. If I have to pay alimony, she'll leave me." "I'm not concerned about that." "Actually, I'm sorry. Please don't leave us," my husband pleaded. My husband feared losing his lover while my in-laws feared losing me. Their selfishness was evident. "I want nothing more to do with any of you. I'm putting this house up for sale. Furthermore, I'll be seeking reimbursement of the $120,000 debt I paid on your behalf through my lawyer." My in-laws stood frozen, realizing the severity of their situation. I then pursued divorce and alimony from my husband through legal channels. I also sought alimony from his lover and reimbursement of $120,000 from my in-laws for what I had paid. Actually, the renovated house sold for about $400,000 in a prime location, and it was bought by a family looking for a duplex. After paying off the $120,000 debt and spending $200,000 on renovations, I ended up making a profit of $80,000 from the sale. In addition to that, I received alimony from my ex-husband and his affair partner, significantly improving my financial situation. On top of all that, I also received a $120,000 payment from my ex-parents-in-law. Ultimately, I benefited the most from this whole ordeal. I believe this outcome is fair given the significant damage and distrust I experienced. Initially, I had savings from learning how to invest, with the aim of paying off my in-laws' debts quickly. With a solid financial base, I invested tens of thousands of dollars, and my assets grew substantially within a year. Alongside this, I received a raise at work, boosting my income. These financial preparations allowed me to take decisive actions. Unfortunately, my former in-laws ended up in debt again and lost their house, but they brought it upon themselves through their deception. Those who deceive others must face the consequences. This experience has taught me the importance of caution and better judgment in trusting people. Going forward, I plan to continue saving and growing my assets to secure a comfortable future. My goal is to create happy memories with genuinely trustworthy people. For instance, I began by enhancing my financial knowledge through courses and books on investing and personal finance. This foundation enabled me to make well-informed decisions about where to invest my money. As time passed, I diversified my investments across various asset classes such as stocks, bonds, and real estate. This approach helped me steadily and securely increase my wealth. Additionally, I seized opportunities to advance in my career. I pursued additional training and certifications relevant to my profession. These efforts paid off when I achieved a significant promotion and salary increase. The higher income allowed me to save more and adopt a more aggressive investment strategy. Throughout this journey, I maintained focus on my long-term objectives. I aimed to secure a comfortable retirement and ensure financial stability for my later years. I also wanted to be able to assist my loved ones if they ever needed financial support. This vision served as my motivation and kept me disciplined in pursuing my financial goals. Eventually, my hard work paid off. I bought a beautiful home in a wonderful neighborhood and traveled to places I had always dreamed of visiting. More importantly, I cultivated strong relationships with friends and family who genuinely cared about me. These connections brought me immense happiness and satisfaction. Reflecting on my past, I realized that the challenges I faced with my ex-husband and in-laws taught me invaluable lessons. They pushed me to become more independent and knowledgeable about finances. They also underscored the importance of surrounding myself with trustworthy and supportive individuals. In conclusion, I turned a tough situation into an opportunity for personal growth by focusing on my financial well-being and personal development. I created a brighter future for myself. I hope sharing my story inspires others to take charge of their lives and pursue positive changes.
Hang in there, Emily. I'm here for you, Jason says, holding Emily's hand tightly. They are so focused on the childbirth that they don't notice me. I resist the urge to react angrily and remind myself to stay professional. Inside, I'm thinking about how to handle this situation. I think my colleague just looked at me in surprise. I need to stay calm and do everything I can to make sure the baby is born safely. After the birth, I look into the room and see them being affectionate with each other, not paying attention to anything else. You did great, Emily. Congratulations, I say. Thank you, Jason, she replies. Yes, the birth of a baby is a happy event. We should celebrate, I think, grabbing my phone. By the look on my colleague's face, I probably seem upset. First, I call my mother-in-law. The baby is born. Please come over. After inviting all the relatives, I reflect on my role. My name is Natalie Miller, a 33-year-old working mom. Inspired by my mother, I became a midwife. My mom delivered many babies, celebrating with the parents sometimes and feeling sad when she couldn't save a life. Watching her over the years made me want to be a midwife too. My dad doesn't say much, but he's always been quietly supportive. Both my parents are people I'm really proud of. But there's one family member who's been more challenging. My sister Emily. She lives at home and doesn't have a job, often asking us for money. When I got married, I started keeping my distance from her. Do what makes you happy, Natalie, my husband Jason would say, always understanding my decisions regarding Emily. That's why I trust Jason so much. Jason works in it, and we're both so busy that we hardly have time for each other. We don't have kids yet. Sometimes I wish we did, but I also like the idea of just us two in our later years. Don't push yourself too hard, Natalie. Take care of yourself, he tells me often. We live with Jason's mom now. His dad passed away, and we didn't want her to live alone. She's incredibly kind, never pressuring us about not having kids and always looking after me. I feel lucky to have her, even if it sometimes feels like she's the one taking care of me. My days are usually filled with hard work at the hospital. Today was no different, with a complicated delivery that kept me there overnight to care for a premature baby. That's the situation, so I won't be coming home until tomorrow, I told Jason over the phone. I see. Should I pick you up tomorrow then? What about work? Jason asked, making me quickly check the calendar. Tomorrow was just a regular Thursday, no holiday or special occasion. In my job, I sometimes get weekdays off, but Jason, who works a regular office job, would normally be working on a weekday. Well, I actually had to work on a recent day off. They told me to take a compensatory day off in return. Really? Well, if you can pick me up, I'd appreciate it, I replied to Jason without much hesitation. The next day, after a very exhausting shift, Jason and I went out to eat, and as soon as we got home, I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already evening, and my mother-in-law was busy cooking dinner in the kitchen. Mom, I'm sorry. Let me help you, I offered. It's okay, dear. Jason told me you've had a tough day, haven't you? Just rest, she reassured me warmly. I felt relieved by her caring words. Anyway, dinner's almost ready, so there's not much left for me to do. Jason got called into work. Let's just have dinner together, she suggested, and I nodded in agreement. During dinner, she kept giving me concerned looks. Is something bothering you? She finally asked. I'm just wondering how things have been between you and Jason lately, she continued. We're the same as always, I think, I replied. That's good to hear, I replied, puzzled by my mother-in-law's demeanor. I wanted to ask more questions, but she avoided the topic. I figured if it was serious, she would share it with me in time. So I decided not to pry further. Since then, Jason and I seem to be missing each other a lot. We used to spend time together on our days off, sometimes with my mother-in-law joining us for a drive. Lately, though, he's been busy with work. We hardly cross paths at home, and meaningful conversations have become rare. Still, we stay connected through calls and messages, so I never doubted our relationship. Life felt a bit frustrating. One day, encouraged by my mother-in-law, I went shopping with her to take my mind off work. Engrossed in our outing, I was caught off guard when suddenly, oh sis, long time no see, huh? I came face to face with the last person I wanted to see. Emily approached with her usual mischievous smile, still as beautiful as ever, which annoyed me. I thought about escaping, but I couldn't just leave my mother-in-law behind. While pondering my options, Emily walked right up to us. You still look exhausted. I can't believe you're my older sister, Emily remarked. Mind your own business, I retorted sharply. Speaking of shopping, since you're out, you must have money, right? Treat me, Emily said with her usual audacity. Here we go again, I sighed inwardly. Since we were young, Emily had always been asking me for money and favors. I've never been one to be taken advantage of, so I've always refused her requests. But she never seems to get the hint. If I didn't give it to her, she would try to take it. My suspicions were confirmed when I caught Emily stealing money from my wallet. My parents and I gave her a serious scolding, but she didn't show any remorse. After that incident, she continued trying to steal from me and even targeted my friends and boyfriends. She's bullying me, Emily would claim, spreading lies about me. While my true friends stood by me, some of my boyfriends ended up leaving me for Emily. This is why Emily and I have never gotten along. I had planned to distance myself from her after high school, but since my mom is a senior midwife and Emily would visit our family home, our paths inevitably crossed. It wasn't until after I got married that we finally grew apart, and yet here she is, standing right in front of me. Why are you here? I asked sharply as we were shopping at a mall near Jason's parents' house. It was a place Emily couldn't easily reach from our family home without a car. She never bothered to get a driver's license, claiming it was too much hassle, and she avoided using public transportation. Well, how should I know? By the way, you're still handling other people's babies, When are you going to have one of your own? Emily taunted. What's that supposed to mean? I retorted, taken aback. Looks like I beat you to it, she said, rubbing her belly. I noticed she had baby items with her. Was she pregnant? I hadn't heard anything about her getting married. Whose child could it be? Enough is enough, my mother-in-law interjected sharply, addressing Emily, who was grinning mischievously. We were enjoying our shopping. We don't need to be disturbed by someone as rude as you. Let's go, Natalie, she said, pulling me away by the arm. Natalie, is she related to you? My mother-in-law asked, clearly curious about the situation. Yes, I replied, recalling that I had introduced Emily to Jason when I brought him to my family home. However, she had canceled both the pre-wedding meeting and the wedding itself. It dawned on me that my mother-in-law and Emily had likely never met. She's my sister. I see, my mother-in-law responded, her expression complicated. I sighed, sensing the tension. Half a year passed by quickly. Jason grew even busier, often not responding to my messages, and my mother-in-law seemed to be spending more time away from home, leaving me alone on my days off. I was expressing my frustrations to a colleague when we received a call about a pregnant woman whose water had broken and was being brought to our hospital. Her name was... What? It was Emily, my own sister. My colleagues noticed my shock and asked if I was okay. Collecting myself, I replied and headed to work. As I entered the delivery room, I was surprised to see a familiar face. Stay strong, Emily. You can do this, I encouraged. To my bewilderment, Jason, who should have been at work, was there beside her, looking like a devoted father-to-be. What? I couldn't help but emit a low groan. I noticed the doctor flinch slightly, but I couldn't take my eyes off the scene unfolding before me. Hang in there, Emily. I'm right here, Jason said, tightly holding Emily's hand, completely absorbed in the moment. I felt a surge of frustration but pushed it aside to focus on my duties. My colleagues seemed taken aback, likely noticing my tense expression. I had to remain composed and ensure the safe delivery of the baby. Dad, please hold Mom's hand tightly, I urged Jason, but he remained fixated on Emily, oblivious to my words. It was maddening, but I had to stay focused. An hour later, the baby was safely born. Congratulations. Thank you. Jason's attention was now completely focused on the newborn baby. It's both a strength and a weakness of his, to be so absorbed in one thing that he often misses other cues, like my icy glares. Leaving the delivery room to my colleagues, I pondered what to do about the situation with those two. After completing my duties, I peeked into their room and found them wrapped up in each other, oblivious to everything else. You did well. Congratulations, Emily, I said. Thank you, Jason, she replied warmly. Yes, the birth of a baby is a joyful occasion. We should celebrate this in a big way, I thought to myself, grabbing my smartphone. Seeing the surprised look on my colleague's face, I realized I must have been wearing a stern expression. I called my mother-in-law first. The baby's been born. Please come over. And as a result of inviting all the relatives. Natalie, were you pregnant? Asked one of the relatives who had gathered quickly. My parents looked shocked, sensing my emotions from just my smile. Everyone, please calm down. I'll explain everything, I reassured them. I don't see that fool and your sister, someone remarked, clearly referring to Jason. I wondered if my mother-in-law knew something. With that thought, I led all the relatives to the room where they were. Excuse us. Oh, Natalie, I exclaimed as I entered suddenly, catching Jason and Emily off guard. Their faces went pale as more relatives filed into the room. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law's face flushed red with anger. That foolish son, she muttered under her breath. Confusion filled the room until my mother-in-law spoke up, addressing me first. I apologize for the trouble caused by my foolish son. No, you're not to blame. Did you know about the affair? Yes, actually, my mother-in-law admitted. She recounted how she had once seen Jason and Emily walking together and had wanted to confront me about it, but never found the right moment. That explained her recent odd behavior. She had been secretly investigating ever since, even hiring a private investigator. Wait, what about your job? I asked, trying to grasp the full extent of the situation. Well, about that, Jason quit, she revealed. Sadly, what? I couldn't believe it. This new revelation left me stunned and deeply disappointed. Since when? About a year ago. I was beyond angry now. and it seemed the relatives shared my feelings as they glared coldly at Jason and Emily. You understand, right, Jason? I demanded, looking at him for an explanation. Yes. And Emily, once you're discharged, do you understand too? Yes, I get it, Emily replied sullenly, contrasting Jason's downcast demeanor. Seeing her attitude, I resolved not to show any mercy. Afterward, I carefully reviewed the evidence my mother-in-law had collected. Currently, Jason was being closely watched by the gathered relatives, while Emily was under scrutiny by her own parents. With the evidence at hand, it seemed likely that I could pursue a divorce. Jason had truly proven himself a fool. No, I apologize for my foolish younger sister, I responded. Then, realizing their curiosity, I continued, by the way, if you don't mind me asking, why is your sister like that? Oh, it's probably because of our aunt, I explained. She's a single lady without children who always doted on Emily. With our busy mother, reserved father, and my outspoken nature, Emily naturally gravitated towards an aunt who validated her and spoiled her. Despite my mother's efforts to create distance between them, it seems they stayed in touch behind her back. Unlike Emily, I wasn't pampered like that, and I often told our aunt not to spoil her too much. Perhaps Emily found me annoying and kept her distance. You must have had a tough time, sympathized my relative. Well, she's been a handful since we were kids, I admitted. Even so, I can't entirely blame your aunt. I wonder where I went wrong with Jason, mused my mother-in-law. Her comment made me smile ruefully. I had been completely deceived by Jason. I had always seen him as genuinely kind. Had I been blind? Later, I found out that the relatives had questioned Jason. According to their conversation, Jason and Emily had first met when I brought him to my parents' house. Emily had then said, actually, as I listened to my mother-in-law lament about Emily, she revealed how Emily had cunningly obtained Jason's contact information and started an affair with him. Despite my warnings about Emily's character, Jason, inexperienced with relationships even during his college days, fell into her trap. I had been relieved when he introduced me as his girlfriend, thinking he had moved past any potential entanglements with Emily. It was a shock to realize how wrong I had been. In the midst of this conversation, I received a call from Emily. I put her on speakerphone and answered, "Hey sis, Dad and the others are just concerned about you. They'll leave once things settle down." "You brought this on yourself," Emily retorted. "Mom is just worried about you," I sighed, feeling exasperated by her lack of understanding. Emily persisted, "If you're willing to pay them off now, I'll send Mom and the others home." "That's impossible. I just gave birth and I don't have any savings," Emily replied defensively. "Then you'll have to tolerate being watched," I replied firmly. "Hey sis," suddenly, Emily's voice cut off, leaving the conversation hanging. Sorry, I took her phone away. My dad's voice came through before the call abruptly ended. I decided to let my dad handle that situation for now. There was no more room for sympathy towards Emily after that call. I resolved not to go easy on her anymore, despite just giving birth. "Don't go easy on Jason either. Hold him accountable," I asserted firmly. "Yes, I'll ensure he faces consequences," my mother-in-law agreed as we discussed our next steps. Once everything was in place, I arranged a meeting with Jason and Emily. Jason was ushered in by our relatives, while Emily quietly followed with my dad. Her sudden change in demeanor puzzled me until my mom, holding the baby, whispered in my ear, "Emily was severely scolded after she called you." Come to think of it, I've never seen my usually quiet dad angry, and probably neither had Emily. Experiencing my dad's fury for the first time must have been traumatic for her. I reflected silently. "What? You know why you were called here, right?" I asked, breaking the tense silence. "I'm truly sorry." She came crying to me asking for advice. Jason began, his voice wavering. "But do you really think such an excuse will work on me?" I continued, staring at Jason, who avoided my gaze. Reflecting on the past, Jason had often upset me, although we ultimately chose to live together. At first, he had attempted to move in with my mother-in-law and me without discussing it, causing tension. After confronting him, we agreed on living arrangements, and I had hoped he learned from that incident. Yet now, it appeared he had concealed his intentions skillfully or perhaps ignored the lesson entirely. "Don't you have any other excuses?" "Ever since we were kids, you've always been the favorite," Emily began, her voice filled with bitterness. According to her, Our parents consistently praised me while she faced constant criticism. This treatment fueled her resentment towards me, which was further fueled by our aunt's encouragement. When she learned that I was getting married before her, she felt overshadowed and decided to pursue Jason. That's why I called Jason and got him drunk, Emily admitted, her tone matter of fact. That's a pretty low move, I responded, trying to contain my anger. We only got involved once, but she told me if you don't want me to tell sis, do as I say. Emily continued, revealing the extent of her manipulation. Yet you seemed pretty close when you gave birth, I remarked sarcastically, my frustration evident. Jason looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Why did I end up with someone like him? Is love truly blind? Normally, I would find a man who avoids confrontation like this repulsive. As we kept meeting, I genuinely fell for her, Jason explained, his voice tinged with regret. Then you should have just broken up with me, I retorted sharply. Well, I still love you, Natalie, and I wanted a child with you, Jason admitted, his expression pained as my words hit home. Why did he act like a victim now? What about your job? My father interjected, steering the conversation forward. I wanted to spend more time with Emily, so working felt like a waste, Jason admitted, his voice subdued. And you two were involved more than once, right? My father's question was direct and unforgiving. I'm a midwife. I can easily backtrack from the birth to when you got her pregnant. If you hide anything else, I won't forgive you. Emily flinched at my father's stern words, prompting her to confess. She revealed that since Jason had quit his job, they had been meeting almost daily and had been involved multiple times. The revelation left both my mother-in-law and me speechless with disbelief. I'm going to divorce you anyway, I declared firmly, my voice resolute. No, please, Jason pleaded, his face filled with regret and desperation. I'll also cut ties with you. You'll never set foot in this house again. I concluded, my decision final and uncompromising. Where the hell am I supposed to live? Jason's panicked question hung in the air. Both my mother-in-law and I made it clear to Jason that his predicament was entirely of his own making. Thanks to my mother-in-law's decision to hire a private investigator, we had uncovered another startling revelation about why Jason had quit his job. If you're desperate, I can refer you somewhere, I stated coldly. Huh? Jason looked bewildered. Prison. It's not so bad. You get a roof over your head, 3 meals a day, and even earn a little money, I informed him bluntly. Jason's face drained of color at my words. It turned out that Jason had been embezzling money, which had led to his dismissal from work. He had managed to repay the embezzled funds to avoid legal trouble. But that money came from selling off my savings and my mother-in-law's possessions. The realization hit me hard. I had been oblivious to his actions, and I felt deeply betrayed and foolish. Natalie, I'm not going to show any mercy. If you keep arguing, I'll hand you over to the police. I cut Jason off, my voice firm and resolute. He slumped under my cold stare, realizing the gravity of the situation. I had already arranged for the police to be there, waiting for the moment. Emily, don't you dare call me sister again. I truly despise you from the bottom of my heart, I declared firmly to Emily, who was escorted away by my father. That was the last interaction I had with her. Now, moving forward, we wasted no time packing our belongings and decided to move to a new home, ensuring safety from any potential return by Jason. The new place is closer to my hospital workplace, and we've extended invitations to my parents to join us. This marks a proper farewell to Jason and Emily. Since then, Jason was found wandering around our empty old house and was taken away by some intimidating men in black suits. Meanwhile, Emily has found a new job and has been working diligently, juggling multiple part-time jobs. My parents informed me of this. They decided to leave Emily with the house as a final act of kindness. She likely spends her days working hard to maintain it. Despite everything, she's resilient. In our new home, we've been raising Emily's child together. My mother, despite being retired, has a wealth of baby-raising knowledge, and my mother-in-law has been a constant source of support, caring for the child with love and dedication. Thanks to them, I've been able to nurture the child with confidence. Financially, my father and I are stable, each contributing to the household. Though not related by blood, this child was long awaited and has brought immense joy into my life. I'm grateful to my mother and mother-in-law for their unwavering support in this journey. I've renamed her Mindy and consider her my own. One day, she may come to understand her origins and face challenges because of it. When that time comes, I'll be there by her side, supporting her through it all. Until then, my goal is to be the kind of mother she can always be proud of. Today, I cherish life and hope for boundless happiness for Mindy and the new life that has come into our world. With this prayer in my heart, I'm ready to face whatever challenges life brings.
That wordless wife left that woman before things got worse. Once they thought I was asleep, my husband and his mother changed completely. They left home, but came back shamelessly, saying they didn't want to lose their money, causing chaos. When I confronted them, "My name's Daisy. I'm 30. I got engaged to Brad after dating him for 5 years. We lived with his parents in their house. We planned to buy our own home when we had our first child. It's been almost 2 years now, but we haven't had a child yet, and we're still living with his parents. Living with my husband, his mom, and his younger brother, I often worried those around me. My parents lived far away, needing a flight to visit, and they regretted not being able to help more. Luckily, my husband was always kind, and I had a great relationship with my mother-in-law. We were so close that typical issues between in-laws didn't affect us, making me really happy. Then I had an accident and broke a bone. I was in a hospital, unable to move on my own. Right after the accident, my husband and mother-in-law visited me daily, concerned for my well-being. But now they only come once a week. I appreciated their visits, but the day after the doctor warned me about lasting injuries. She can't do any chores now, but she's going to cost us more than ever. What a useless wife. She still has health issues. Having kids seems even less likely now, right? Yeah, maybe. Now that it's like this, I'm glad we don't have kids. If she stays in bed forever, I'll have to do all the chores and care for her. That's not what I signed up for when we got married. Wasn't it her job to take care of the house and everything? If she hadn't gotten hurt, she could have kept working as our maid. What a letdown. Before this gets too complicated, we should get rid of her. I'll file for divorce soon. Thinking I was asleep, they had this conversation in my hospital room. To them, I was nothing more than a maid and caregiver. After that, my husband and mother-in-law treated me with obvious coldness. Your husband hardly visits, does he? He's probably looking for someone else. If only you had a child, maybe he'd stick around. My husband wasn't even coming once a week anymore. My mother-in-law seemed to pass the time by making hurtful remarks. But my brother-in-law was different. He did the laundry, checked on me, and was very supportive. He visited almost every day and took me outside in my wheelchair when I felt trapped by my long hospital stay. Physical therapy was exhausting, and there were times I wanted to give up, but my brother-in-law's support kept me going. I'm not getting worse, and my physical therapy is going well, but it's still uncertain if I'll have any lasting issues. When I shared this with my husband and mother-in-law, really? See, I told you we should have gotten rid of her earlier. They started arguing about me. What are you two talking about? Aren't you being too harsh on Daisy, who's been taking care of our house and father all this time? In reality, I've been looking after my father-in-law for 5 years while dating my husband. When we first started dating, they suggested, since you're going to get married anyway, why not live together? Yeah, that sounds good. We can save money by living together and get married once we're settled. When I hesitated, they reassured me, it's fine. We have plenty of space, we won't intrude on your privacy, and you won't have to pay rent. You want to marry my son, right? How could I say no? But in return, Daisy, could you help take care of my father while you work from home? It's just for 4 to 5 hours a day when my mother is at her part-time job. My brother is also here, so you two can share the responsibility. My brother-in-law was also working from home, so he and I teamed up to care for my father-in-law at home. They had a close bond, especially over my father-in-law's hobby of collecting furniture, for which he even had a separate house. My brother-in-law and I enjoyed hearing about his hobby. My father-in-law cherished his caring son, Reagan. Over time, my father-in-law's health worsened, and after years of care, he passed away. After that, my husband proposed to me, saying, "Thank you for always taking care of my father. Let's stay together and get married." Despite my efforts in housework and caregiving, once I became unable to move, my husband and mother-in-law treated me as if I were worthless. Even I, normally calm, felt furious. "I insist you pay what you owe." "Well, I want to avoid any trouble, so I'll let you have the house. Let's forget about dividing the rest of the property." I wondered if he would really give me the house, but my father-in-law had left a substantial inheritance, which was divided among my mother-in-law, Brad, and Regan. Each of them received around $300,000, so Brad seemed financially stable. Regan was tasked with handling all the paperwork with the executor and had to make multiple court visits, which was quite a hassle. "No way, we can't give up the house. If we split the property, I'll lose half of my savings. It's just a big house in the countryside. Even if we give it to her, it's not a big deal. At best, it's worth about $100,000, and we'll have to deduct various fees when we sell it. It's cheaper than losing half of my savings. Well, if you think so, Brad. But what if she asks for more later? What if rumors start spreading in the neighborhood because we left her? The two argued over what to do with me. Then I'll fake her in, Regan, Brad's brother, interrupted. Why would you do that? Ah, you've had your eye on Daisy, haven't you? That's why you're so willing. You can have her if you want, but she's no longer any use to us. Don't expect to come back asking for Daisy or the house later. Sure, why would I? Just make sure you don't come asking for money later. And remember, you can't return damaged goods. Brad and Regan finalized the property transfer with legal paperwork through a lawyer. I'll take some money for my savings. You should find a younger, healthier, prettier woman to marry and build a better life. Sound good? Hey, Daisy, get a lawyer to start the divorce process quickly, they said. They planned to stay in a hotel for a while and left the room. Regan and I silently watched them leave. I needed to find a lawyer to start the divorce process. With Regan's help, I filed for divorce, and within a few days, Brad and I were legally separated. A week later, Brad and my mother-in-law packed their things and moved out of the house. It felt odd that Regan, Brad's brother, continued to visit me. Now that I'm no longer married to your brother, you don't have to worry about me, I told him. I'm doing this because I want to. Our connection wasn't just because you were married to my brother. We've worked together caring for Dad and managing the house. We've talked more in these 7 years than my brother ever did with me. We're friends, right? Regan said, smiling gently. All I could do was express my gratitude. A month later, I left the hospital. Even though I still had physical therapy sessions to attend, being home after such a long time felt like a relief. Do you think they'll really come back? I'm worried they might return and make me work again. I expressed my concern to Regan. If they do come back, I'll make sure they leave. I can't forgive how they treated you so badly. Besides, they have no right to return to this house, Regan reassured me firmly. Since I still couldn't move well, Regan took care of most of the household chores. Luckily, I could continue working from home as a freelancer, which helped financially. With regular physical therapy sessions twice a week, I recovered smoothly without any issues. A year later, I regained my independence and Regan and I shared the household duties. We spent more time together, even taking trips on our days off. Just as I thought our peaceful days would continue, a sudden storm approached. One night, while Regan and I were having dinner, someone knocked on the door and kept buzzing the intercom. Anxiously, I answered, and it turned out to be Brad. Hey, let me in, he demanded. Worried about disturbing the neighbors, I reluctantly opened the door, and Brad walked in without hesitation. What do you want? I asked, feeling uneasy. Huh? Why do I have to deal with this attitude just for coming home? This is still my home. Tell me what's going on and make me something to eat, Brad replied. What are you talking about? You're not living here anymore, I responded firmly. Oh, I'm hungry. Daisy, make me some food, he ordered. My ex-husband demanded that I make him food. Hey, stop. Why are you here? I questioned, trying to keep my composure. Well, I've almost run out of money. My mom will be here soon, so leave the door unlocked, he replied casually. I stayed silent, and he continued, Oh, you're all healed now. That's great. Let's get back together. You must have struggled without me. My ex-husband, still under the mistaken belief that I cared for him, approached me with an unwelcome familiarity. His audacity made me feel sick. Enough. I divorced you. I don't care about you anymore. Don't act like you're in charge. You've been living off my money this whole time, only capable of doing housework, I retorted firmly. Just do as I say and shut up, Brad shouted. Just then, the door opened, and his mother walked in. You left the door unlocked? That's careless, she scolded. What's going on here? She's getting too bold, she added, noticing the tension. So I was just giving her a bit of a lesson. She's gotten tough in the year we've been away. Brad and his mother began to settle in again, acting as if they belonged there. This is enough. This isn't your home. I'm calling the police, I asserted firmly. Oh yeah, about that. This house was originally in your father's name, right? So technically, with my mom and the inheritance, our previous agreement is null and void, Brad claimed loudly, making an unreasonable argument. You promised to give me the house. If you're backing out of that, then everything about the property division should be canceled too. Give me half of the savings. Sure, but I don't have it anymore. Didn't I tell you before? I've spent it all. I quit my job, blew it on drinks, risky investments, you name it. Brad's words shocked me. It was unbelievable that he could have spent such a large sum of money in just 1 year. I also owe about $20,000 in consumer finance debts. Can you pay it off for me? Brad asked, and at first, I thought he was joking, but his mother confirmed it was true. I can't lend you that much money, I replied firmly. I'm not asking for a loan. I'm telling you to pay it, Brad insisted. I'm not giving you any money. I'm calling the police, Regan declared as he dialed emergency services. You've gotten bolder in the past year. You're just trying to show off because Daisy is here. Brad started causing chaos in the house, even damaging the precious furniture that held sentimental value from my father-in-law. His mother joined in, laughing as she destroyed the furniture. That's my father-in-law's and aunt's memories, I pleaded, but Brad and his mother continued their rampage, ignoring my protests. About 10 minutes later, the police arrived, and I explained the situation to them. This is quite a situation. Let's hear your side of the story, the police officer said calmly. Huh? What's wrong with me breaking things in my own house? Brad retorted defensively. That's right, we're just getting rid of things we don't need. What's the issue? His mother chimed in. Seeing the police unsure how to respond, Regan intervened. This house has never belonged to these two. It's in Daisy's name, Regan clarified. What nonsense are you talking about? Brad exclaimed in disbelief. In fact, our father-in-law left a will through a lawyer before he passed away. You probably weren't aware. You took what you were told and left the rest to me. So this house has always been Daisy's, Regan explained calmly. When I confirmed this, Brad and his mother were stunned. So this isn't your property then? Oh, wait, but I'm her ex-husband. We're like family, right? Daisy will forgive me, Brad pleaded. Don't be ridiculous. Once you're an ex, you're a stranger. I didn't even know you were seeing another woman before our divorce was finalized, treating me like a maid, I responded firmly. No, that's not what happened. I was just following what my mom said. She made me do all this, Brad protested. What are you talking about? Your failed business, your failed relationships with young women, your gambling debts. Are these all because of me? His mother retorted. She then revealed that after our divorce, Brad had tried to marry a younger woman. He had also quit his job to start his own business, which failed within a month. Even though he had money initially, he became reckless after being rejected, gambling and claiming he could afford it. Now he was almost broke, with nearly nothing left. You brought this upon yourself. This is all Brad's fault, so please at least forgive me, his mother pleaded, their previous condescending attitudes replaced by desperation as they tried to shift the blame and beg for forgiveness. The police, having heard enough, began to take control of the situation. Regan and I stood our ground, making it clear that neither Brad nor his mother had any right to the house or my forgiveness. This is really unbelievable. No, I won't forgive either of you. And this isn't something from the past, is it? You were treating me like a servant just a moment ago, right? Not leaving when I asked you to is illegal. Also, the furniture collected by my late father-in-law belongs to me now, so you need to pay me for that. But all right, we'll pay you back. Just please don't call the police. You wouldn't want me to go to jail, would you? I actually don't care at all. By the way, we're married. It turns out I married my brother-in-law, Reen. Well, he was my brother-in-law before, and now he's my husband. It hasn't even been a year, and you've moved on to another man, my own brother, at that. What are you talking about? You moved on before you were even divorced, didn't you? You wouldn't give Daisy back to me no matter how many times I asked? Brad was left speechless. I don't care anymore. I'll pay for any damages. How much for my idiot husband's stuff? Well, if we calculate roughly about $100,000. Huh? The furniture my father-in-law collected was all high-end pieces made by famous designers. Brad and his mother, who had no interest in these items, seemed to believe they were just junk. You're going to pay for what you've broken, right? We're not sure if we can get the same items, but make sure to pay properly. Brad and his mother, unable to afford such compensation, were distraught. For now, the police took both of them away for trespassing and vandalism. Of course, I didn't forgive them and went ahead with the lawsuit. Later, when Brad and his mother asked Reen for help, he bluntly rejected them, saying, I'm ashamed to even be related by blood. Brad and his mother were likely getting what they deserved. There's one more thing I kept secret. My father-in-law had told me to sell the house and use the money as I wished. Reen had told me the house was worth $100,000, but the documents actually showed it was worth around $500,000. It's in a good location, so it might sell for even more. But for now, Reen and I decided to take it easy in the house my father-in-law left us with no plans to sell it. Eventually, we planned to sell the land and build a new house. I had some worries about having children, so after marrying Reen, I went to the gynecologist for a checkup. There were no issues with either Reen or me. Now, with the troublemakers gone, Reen and I are living happily together. This house is really tough. My parents are both bedridden, and my older brother uses a wheelchair. Keep your voice down, they might hear you. But I need to say it out loud. Imagine being in my shoes. I come home tired from work every day, only to find a house full of sick people. It's really sad. Lately, when my husband gets home, he starts complaining right away. I'm scared his complaints will wake my in-laws and Bill, who are sleeping in the other rooms. But Brian, you just lie down and ask about dinner and a shower. You never check on your family. I've been saying this. I'm exhausted from work and can't handle everything alone. If you won't help, you can't complain. Wait, are you misunderstanding something here? Misunderstand what? Taking care of the house is your job, isn't it? Who do you think pays the bills here? Don't act like you're better than me. You couldn't survive without me. My name is Rachel and I'm 32 years old. I've been married for 6 years. I lost my parents in a car accident when I was in elementary school and grew up in foster care until I finished high school. After that, I found a job at a factory that makes electronic parts, which is part of a big company that makes electrical equipment. My husband joined the main company a year after I started working there. We met when he came to work at our factory, started dating, and later got married. Before we got married, my husband Bill worked as a freelance system engineer and lived alone in a rented apartment that he also used as his office. After we got married, we moved in with his parents. When I first met my in-laws, they welcomed me warmly, even though they knew I grew up in foster care. I had often felt looked down upon because I didn't have parents, so their kindness meant a lot to me. A few years ago, my mother-in-law fell ill and became mostly bedridden. I decided to quit my job and became a full-time homemaker to take care of her. On her better days, she taught me how to do household chores, which I wasn't very good at. Now I have 2 sons, and I always wanted to cook together with my daughter-in-law someday. I'm so glad you're here, Rachel. I often found myself thinking, if my mom were still alive, would we have spent time together in the kitchen like this? Sometimes when I made a mistake while cooking, my husband would criticize me, but my in-laws would eat quietly without complaining. She put a lot of effort into it, so just eat quietly instead of complaining. My father-in-law would scold my husband. Bill visited us only once a month, but he always had a smile on his face. He would bring sweets from famous shops and share them with me. He was always considerate and kind, like a real brother. Being part of their family made me truly happy. However, 3 years ago when my father-in-law retired, my mother-in-law got pneumonia and became mostly bedridden. She had been looking forward to traveling with her husband after his retirement, so it was devastating for her. I did everything I could to cheer her up. My father-in-law, now retired, took an active role in caring for her. Bill also came over to help out, and slowly but surely, her smile returned. The next year, my father-in-law also fell ill. He spent about 2 months in the hospital, and like my mother-in-law, became mostly bedridden. Surprisingly, my husband didn't visit him in the hospital, but Bill visited often and helped care for him, which was a huge relief. Taking care of his father without complaint is only natural, Bill would say to me. On the other hand, my husband hasn't been helping with my mother-in-law's care at all, not even when I'm at the hospital. I have a job, you know. It's not like John's laid-back situation where he can stay at home, my husband argues. It frustrates me, but with John's help, we managed while my father-in-law was in the hospital. Now, though, we have to take care of both of them. I thought it was normal to care for my in-laws, but it's disappointing that my husband isn't cooperative at all. Hey, could you pitch in a bit on your days off? I asked him. I think it would make your mom and dad happy. I don't have time for that, he replied. John doesn't even live here, but he always comes to help out. Why don't you do anything when you live here? That's because he doesn't live here. Be grateful I'm even staying here, my husband retorted. As time passed, my husband's language grew even harsher. I never realized he could be so hurtful, and my disappointment only deepened. John's visits to check on his parents and help with shopping and chores were a huge relief. I was starting to adjust to this routine, hoping we could make it work. But then John had a car accident and suffered a severe spinal injury. Now he's in a wheelchair. Why does everything bad keep happening? I lamented, feeling very upset. With John now in a wheelchair, he had to move back in with his parents. Another mouth to feed, great. Is this your fault? What are you talking about? Ever since I married you, it's been one disaster after another. Are you some kind of jinx? My husband exclaimed. His words made me wonder if there was some truth to it. Maybe I was bringing bad luck to everyone around me. Should I just disappear? But if I left, what would happen to my in-laws and John? I couldn't imagine my husband taking care of all 3 of them. Since John moved back in, my husband rarely came home. He spent long hours at work, had business dinners, played golf, or went out with friends on his days off. John is adjusting to life in a wheelchair and can manage some things on his own, but not everything. He's still the same kind-hearted person he was before the accident. Sometimes I wonder if he and my husband are really brothers. My in-laws and John have been hurt by how my husband treats me. They've even said I could leak him if I wanted to, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Then one night, my husband came home drunk and brought a woman with him. Hey, I'm home. This is my maid, my husband slurred, introducing the woman. Come on, she must be your wife. She actually looks like a maid though. Who are you? I'm Brian's girlfriend. He said he wanted to show me what his wife looks like, so here I am. I didn't expect such an old lady though, the woman said arrogantly. What's your problem coming to my house? Chill out. I'd brought Brian home because he's drunk. You could at least thank me, my husband slurred in response. Don't act so superior, maid, he added before passing out. Don't sleep here, Brian, she said, trying to wake him up. Oh well, I can't help it. I'll leave him to you, she shrugged and left. I was on the verge of tears, staring at my drunken husband snoring in the hallway. I wish I were just a maid. At least then I wouldn't feel so embarrassed. I could keep things professional. The next morning, I confronted my husband about bringing a woman home. What's the big deal? I'm hungover this early in the morning, you know. The woman who came back with you yesterday said she was your girlfriend. She said that, huh? Is it true? Yeah, it is, my husband smirked, showing no remorse. I felt my heart grow cold as he admitted his affair so casually. So you've been cheating? Well, I guess you could say that, but you're not even a woman to me anymore. What do you mean? Why do you think I married you? I thought you would make a good maid. My mother was often sick and I needed someone to take care of her when necessary. That's why I married you, plain and simple. I don't understand. A woman without a family won't complain, no matter how I treat her. You have nowhere else to go, so you have to stay here. Well, I didn't expect my father and brother would also need care. But whether it's one person or three, it's all the same. As my husband laughed and joked about it, I felt my strength draining away. Had he always seen me this way? The realization that he married me for these reasons brought tears to my eyes. Seeing my distress, my husband laughed again. I'll leave you here, so make sure you take good care of them and don't complain about whatever I do outside. You don't have the right to do that. You're just a housekeeper and a caregiver, my husband declared. I was too exhausted to argue further, and leaving wasn't an option either. Like my husband pointed out, I had nowhere else to go and no one else to rely on. But more than anything, I couldn't bear to abandon my in-laws and Bill, who had shown me such kindness. They had given me a sense of belonging and warmth that I had never known before. How could I possibly leave them behind? If I divorce my husband, I'll become a stranger to them. They're the only family I have, and I can't let go of that feeling, I thought to myself. Seeing that I couldn't argue back, my husband grew even more audacious. He didn't hesitate to use foul language in front of my in-laws and Bill. I'm so unlucky, burdened by these three. I need to blow off some steam or I can't take it anymore, he complained. From my perspective, he wasn't doing anything to help around the house or with caregiving. Instead, he did as he pleased, including having affairs. It seemed like he was enjoying himself while I struggled. Oh, well, I'm taking my paid leave next month and going on a trip. A trip to Hawaii with my girlfriend, my husband announced. What? So it's a vacation with your girlfriend while I handle everything at home? I responded incredulously. You're technically my wife, but you're not my main woman. You're just a caregiver, so this isn't an affair trip. It's a trip with my main woman, he explained casually. I was left speechless by his brazen declaration. There was no use arguing with him anymore, and honestly, I didn't have the energy to argue or to even feel angry anymore. I see. Do as you wish, I replied quietly. His announcement about going on a trip with his girlfriend didn't stir a hint of jealousy in me. It made me realize once again that I had no feelings left for my husband. The only reason I stayed was for my in-laws and Bill. I couldn't bear to leave them behind. That was all that mattered to me. My husband proudly shared his plans for a trip with his mistress with his family. But my in-laws and Bill looked at him with cold eyes. So the following month, my husband left on his affair trip, full of excitement. You take care of the three of them without any trouble. That's all you're good for, he told me before leaving. Instead of feeling angry, I felt relieved that I wouldn't have to listen to his sarcastic remarks for at least a week. That night, I enjoyed a peaceful evening, and my in-laws and Bill seemed a bit happier. And then I slept well. The next morning, I woke up late and rushed downstairs. Oh no, I overslept. You must all be hungry. But when I rushed into the living room, I was stunned by what I saw. It felt surreal, as if I were still dreaming. Was this real? I had seen this scene so many times in my dreams. What's the matter, Rachel? You look like you've seen a ghost, Mama said with a smile. I think I need to wake up properly, I mumbled, turning to go back to my bedroom. You're definitely awake, Rachel. This isn't a dream. We're in the middle of a strategy meeting, Mama reassured me. In the living room, there was a whiteboard set up, and Bill was standing in front of it, writing something. The board read, Escape Plan. I couldn't believe my eyes. Why was Bill standing? Where was his wheelchair? I glanced around and noticed it folded up in a corner of the hallway. Come on, Rachel. Don't just stand there. Come sit at the table, Mama urged me. Isn't this a dream? I asked, still trying to grasp the reality of the situation. Well, shall we execute the plan? Phil said with a mischievous smile, standing up. Mama also rose from her seat, ready to follow him. I nearly collapsed seeing the three of them, who were supposed to be frail and bedridden, standing before me. And then a whirlwind week unfolded. When my husband returned from his trip, he called with an excited voice. "I'm at the airport now, heading home with my girlfriend. Have dinner ready. She'll be living with us from now on. Don't worry, you'll stay right here, taking care of us," playing the role of a housemaid for both me and her. "Oh, I see. Do as you wish," I replied quietly. "Then you're a pitiful woman, you know. You can't even complain when your husband brings another woman home. You have nowhere else to go, no family to rely on. You're stuck clinging on to me. Anyway, keep on serving me," he taunted. He seemed to be reveling in his own satisfaction, pleased that everything was going according to his plan. I remained silent. An hour later I received a frantic call from him, a stark contrast from his earlier tone. "What? What's going on? What do you mean there's a stranger in our house?" "Oh, they must have moved in," I replied calmly. "Who are they? What are you talking about?" "Well, it's a rental property, isn't it? Once we moved out, it's rented to someone else. The real estate agent said he appreciated how well we kept the place clean," my husband explained. "What do you mean, we moved out?" "Our home was a rented single-family house we moved into when we got married. It was meant for us and my in-laws, with Phil covering the rent," I clarified. Indeed, most of our living expenses were covered by Phil. Initially, my husband contributed to utilities and other costs. However, as my mother-in-law and Phil's health declined, he started withholding his contributions, arguing that his presence alone was enough support. Bill had reservations about his brother's behavior but didn't feel he could say much after moving out. Then he had a traffic accident that left him partially paralyzed initially. He believed it would be a permanent condition but began recovering surprisingly quickly, though it seemed temporary. This prompted him to move back in with his parents. Despite my in-laws actually improving in health, Bill and Mama pretended to still be frail to deceive my husband. They started planning to leave the house, with Bill's help being crucial for their scheme. This led him to return home. My in-laws had secretly purchased a retirement home with their savings and retirement funds, preparing for the future. Bill handled all the paperwork while they decided on their move. Upon discovering my husband's trip with his mistress, they decided it was time to put their plan into action. I was completely taken aback when they revealed their plan to me. To make matters better, they had already arranged a place for me to stay, they said. "I apologize for keeping this from you as well, Rachel. I thought you might not be able to keep this secret because you're such an honest person." "There's no way to thank you enough for everything you've done for us," my in-laws said as they held my hand and smiled. "I wish I could spend more time with them," I said tearfully. "You have your own life, dear. You don't have to be tied down to us. My parents are in good hands with me around, Rachel. You don't have to worry about a thing. But you know you're always welcome to visit. You mean more to us than a real daughter. We sincerely pray for your happiness." I was so overwhelmed with gratitude and happiness that I couldn't stop crying. When I told my husband about this, he was speechless. He must have turned pale, as he had his eyes on my Phil's retirement funds. He used to tell me to get hold of my Phil's bank card. Now he realized that's not going to happen. "Where am I supposed to live? What about my stuff?" he demanded. "You didn't have much stuff. The furniture and appliances belong to my Phil. Your parents sold your belongings, including expensive bags and watches, and gave me the money as a down payment for alimony," I explained. "Down payment for what?" he asked, bewildered. "It's alimony for all the verbal abuse you've subjected me to. And I'll also claim additional alimony for your affair," I asserted. "What? I'm not paying alimony to a caregiver," he retorted. "It doesn't matter what you say. Legally, I was your wife, so I have the right to claim alimony from both you and your mistress," I replied firmly. "Well, that settles it," he muttered, defeated. "Wait, where are you now? Let's meet and talk," he pleaded. "No way, I never want to see your face again, and I'm not telling you where I am," I replied firmly. "No way. I'll send the divorce papers and alimony claim to your office," I stated resolutely. After that, he made numerous attempts to contact me, but I blocked him. Despite his reluctance to proceed with the divorce, Bill hired a lawyer, and we managed to finalize it. I received a lump sum payment for alimony. As it turned out, the woman he cheated with was married to his friend, and her furious husband confronted him at his office, exposing everything. This led to my husband losing his job. The woman was also kicked out of her house after her affair with my husband was discovered before their trip together. Initially, my husband had planned for them to return home together, but their relationship fell apart. Unable to secure a new job, he now struggles with debts from his past lavish spending and alimony payments, juggling multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet. He asked my Bill for help, but of course, he refused and brushed it off with a laugh. Later on, I found a new job thanks to a referral from Phil, and I'm truly enjoying my work every day. I still regularly meet with my in-laws, who treat me like their own daughter. I always eagerly anticipate our time together. Additionally, Bill has found happiness with a wonderful woman whom he's marrying. She's incredibly kind, and they make a perfect pair. I was deeply moved when Bill invited me to their wedding. When he said, "I would be honored if you could attend as my sister," I couldn't hold back my tears. I'm hopeful that I can maintain this wonderful relationship with my in-laws and Bill for years to come. My in-laws were drunk, and even though people nearby were whispering to each other, my in-laws didn't seem to care. They kept shouting at me, saying, "Well, I guess it's too late since you're already married, but if you want to be part of this family, you need to show us you have enough money." Then they added, "Yes, your dad is right, so make sure to give us $1,000 a month as a new bonus." Their words shocked me. I couldn't believe they would say such things at a wedding reception. I just stared at them, my face turning pale. My dad took the microphone away from them and said firmly, "Enough is enough. Don't you realize you're embarrassing yourselves? My name is Linda. I'm 30 years old and work in an office. I'm dating Larry, who's 32, 2 years older than me. We met through a friend who was worried about me being single, so she introduced us. After dating for a year, Larry proposed, and now we're getting ready to get married soon. I lost my mom when I was very young, and my dad raised me all by himself. He worked really hard to make sure I had everything I needed. Losing my mom, who I loved so much, hurt me deeply. Because of that loss, I was careful with my feelings. That's why I hadn't really dated anyone since school. I even thought it might be okay to stay single forever. Then I met Larry. At first, I didn't have romantic feelings for him, even though he asked me out many times. Larry was always caring and a true gentleman. Gradually, I started to open up to him, and we began dating. He continued to be kind and attentive, and I felt really happy with him. He became so important to me that I started to imagine a future together. When he proposed, we decided to get married. Larry understood me completely and was always supportive. "Don't worry if you're uncertain about something. I'll be here for you until you feel better. I love you, Linda. You can always rely on me," he would say. His words touched me deeply. He promised to make me happy forever. Just being around him made me feel warm inside. If he cared so much for me, I knew I wanted to do the same for him. When I told my dad we were getting married, he was so happy he cried. "Wow, Linda, you're finally tying the knot. I'm over the moon for you," he said. "Oh, Dad, you're being so dramatic," I teased. "I never heard you talk like that before. I used to worry you might never settle down," he admitted. "Really? I had no idea you were concerned about that," I said. "Well, every dad worries about his daughter, you know. Anyway, congratulations," he said warmly. "Thanks, Dad," I replied. It meant the world to me to have his congratulations, especially since he raised me on his own. I could already imagine us both tearing up at the wedding, especially after seeing him so emotional now. With that, Larry and I began preparing for our wedding. Juggling our jobs kept us incredibly busy. Weekdays were filled with work, and weekends were all about wedding planning. We hardly had any downtime, our schedules packed to the brim. On a rare day off, we were scheduled to visit Larry's parents' house. It would be my first meeting with them. After Larry proposed, he had already met my father. Initially, I had planned to visit his parents soon after, but due to our busy schedules, it took some time to coordinate. As we pulled up to his parents' house, I started to feel nervous. "Don't worry, my parents are really kind," Larry reassured me. His words helped calm my nerves a bit as I reached out and rang the doorbell. It was his mother who answered. "Mom, I'm home," Larry announced. "Welcome home, Larry. It's so nice of you to come," his mother greeted warmly. As they exchanged words, I greeted her politely. "Nice to meet you. I'm Linda, Larry's fiancée," I introduced myself. "I see, so you're Linda," she responded, her tone noticeably colder than with Larry. Her smile faded as she gave me a scrutinizing look. She then led us to the living room where her distant demeanor persisted. "Linda, I'm curious about what you bring to the table. Larry is our treasure, our only child. If you're going to marry him, you must be suitable. Are you worthy of him?" Her words felt more like an interrogation than a conversation. I was taken aback by her directness. I hadn't anticipated such a chilly reception from my future mother-in-law and struggled to find a response. "Remember, you'll be joining our family. Are you prepared for that?" she pressed on. While marrying Larry did mean becoming part of his family, I couldn't understand why such high expectations were being placed on me. It's not like Larry's family was some prominent or influential dynasty. Moreover, I wouldn't even be living with them. I disliked feeling pressured with these kinds of questions. As I pondered how to respond, Larry's mother grew impatient with my hesitation and scolded me sharply. "When I ask you a question, answer promptly. You're being rude," she snapped. "I want to know if you're ready for this," she insisted, her voice rising. Feeling overwhelmed, I managed to reply, I hope that Larry and I will support each other in our marriage." Her response was dismissive. "That's such a naive thing to say. Your job as a wife is to support Larry. You clearly don't understand the basics," she criticized. Larry's father, sitting nearby, intervened. "Honey, please calm down." "I apologize, Linda. I hope you weren't too upset by my wife's words," he said, trying to diffuse the tension. "It's okay," I replied, trying to maintain composure. I figured Larry's mother was just protective of her only son and might have spoken hastily. Just then, Larry's brother entered the room. He spoke softly and kindly, which momentarily eased my nerves. But any relief was short-lived. With a smile on his face, he said something unexpected. "What my wife says has some truth to it. What concerns me is that you come from a single-parent family," Larry's father stated. Confused and taken aback, I asked, "What do you mean by that?" "Well, being raised by just one parent doesn't have a good public image. We can't exactly be thrilled about someone from such a background becoming our son's wife, can we?" he elaborated. "Wait a minute," I interjected, unable to ignore his comment. "What's wrong with being raised by a single parent? My father worked incredibly hard to raise me alone. I'm grateful for my upbringing and proud of my father. Growing up with one parent doesn't diminish my worth." They continued to argue. "Because you were raised without a parent, you may not have learned how to be a good wife, manage household chores, and so on." "I helped my father a lot with household chores," I replied firmly. "I can also cook pretty well, so please don't say that," I insisted. Despite my response, Larry's parents ignored me and went on to say, "We'll allow you to marry Larry, but in return you must promise to prioritize us because we are Larry's parents. Can you promise us that?" "What?" I was shocked by their demand. "Since you're here asking for our permission to marry our son, you must understand your responsibilities, right?" Larry's parents continued without giving me a chance to say more. Feeling sidelined by their dominating conversation, I reflected on the evening and decided to discuss my feelings with Larry. "Hey Larry, do your parents always talk to people like that?" I asked him later. "What's wrong with how they talk?" Larry seemed unconcerned. I was surprised that Larry didn't see any issue with how his parents had spoken to me. "I mean the way your parents talked to me and what they said." "Oh really? They were just discussing whether you're ready for marriage," Larry replied. "I understand they're concerned, but I felt like their comments were a bit too much," I explained. "Really? What do you think they said wrong?" "They'd given us their blessing, so let's not dwell on it," Larry assured me. "Yeah, you're right," I conceded, but I couldn't shake the unease that Larry seemed to side more with his parents than with me. It bothered me deeply. Sensing my uncertainty, he pulled me into a hug. "Linda, you don't have to worry so much. My parents are just a bit upset because their only son is getting married," Larry reassured me, though his words didn't entirely comfort me. "Everything will be fine. They just want what's best for us. They want us to have a strong marriage like they do. That's why they might have come off a bit harsh." "I see," I replied, trying to understand his perspective. Maybe his parents had high expectations for us, but I still couldn't shake off the feeling that it wasn't right for them to criticize me because of my upbringing with my father. Marriage should be about us, not just their approval or disapproval. With this in mind, though I was still a little hurt, I decided not to dwell too much on his parents' judgments. Then the wedding day arrived. We had many guests, from relatives and friends to colleagues and bosses. Walking down the aisle with my father, who had raised me single-handedly, was a deeply meaningful moment. Larry and I exchanged vows and rings, surrounded by applause. It was then that I truly understood I was marrying Larry. I felt a joy I had never experienced before. As we entered the reception hall, we were greeted by the lively crowd and videos celebrating our journey together. It was a joyful atmosphere. I caught up with friends I hadn't seen in a while, and we received many heartfelt congratulations. Despite my earlier concerns about Larry's parents, I was happy we had chosen to marry and create such a memorable day. After the ceremony, we planned to officially register our marriage, becoming husband and wife. Every moment felt cherished, and I was filled with happiness. As time passed, we moved on to the final part of the event. The bride, groom, and both sets of parents lined up to greet guests, but I started feeling uneasy about Larry's parents. They seemed unsteady on their feet, their faces noticeably flushed. It was clear they had drunk too much. Some relatives even asked if they were all right. Despite their condition, we needed to finish the ceremony and move forward. As the moderator handed the microphone to me and Larry, a sudden tension arose when Larry's mother forcefully pulled my hand away from his and spoke to me in a harsh, commanding tone. "Linda, listen to me. After this wedding, you are going to dedicate yourself entirely to us. Get ready because we will test you rigorously." The guests began whispering among themselves, some thinking it was a joke and laughing. Larry's father then took the microphone. "Linda, aren't you ashamed to wear a dress like that? It doesn't suit you at all," he remarked. "Dear, you should tell her the truth," Larry's mother added, and the tone of the whispers among the guests shifted. I looked at Larry, hoping he would intervene and stop his parents' rude comments. Instead, he said he couldn't do anything about it and didn't think his parents were in the wrong. It became clear that he would not protect me from his parents in the future. In that moment, amidst the buzzing hall, I realized it. I was certain of it. My in-laws were drunk and continued to insult me. "Well, you're already married, but if you're going to be part of this family, you need to prove that you have enough money," they said. "Yes, that's right," they continued. "After you register your marriage at the city hall, you should give us a few thousand a month and your entire bonus." I was shocked by their words. I never expected such demands at our wedding reception. I stared at them, feeling my face grow pale. My father intervened, taking the microphone from them. "Enough of this. Don't you realize how inappropriate this is?" he said firmly, but still maintaining respect. Larry's parents glared back at my father. "Why are you interrupting us while we're talking?" I knew this woman's father was no good. "Single parents are never any good," they retorted. I was furious at their insult toward my father. My father, staying calm, responded, "You're even worse than I thought. You refuse to meet me just because I'm a single father." I never expected such behavior from people associated with President Scott. I assumed his employees would be more decent. This seemed to catch my father-in-law off guard. How do you know President Scott?" he asked, his expression turning serious. "He's a business partner of my company and, more importantly, an old friend of mine," my father clarified. "And on the topic of single parents, President Scott himself was raised by his mother alone. So your comments have inadvertently insulted the president of the company you work for." As my in-laws' faces fell upon hearing my father's words, it dawned on them the seriousness of their blunder. "I apologize, sir. Please don't mention this to the president," my father-in-law pleaded, suddenly dropping to his knees. Just moments earlier he had been assertive, but now he seemed defeated. Laughter erupted among the guests, some even recording the scene on their phones. "Apologies can't undo what's been said," my dad responded firmly. He came over to me and asked if I wanted to leave with him. I nodded, taking the microphone from Larry's hand. "Thank you all for the entertainment, but there will be no wedding," I announced firmly to Larry, his parents, and everyone present at the reception. "I will ensure that the money given for this occasion is returned." With those words, I left the hall with my father. I glimpsed Larry and his parents looking dismayed, and soon their relatives rushed over, wearing concerned expressions. The atmosphere must have been chaotic. As I returned the money and apologized to the guests, they expressed sympathy and praised both me and my father for our stance against such unacceptable behavior. They commended us for not allowing ourselves to be taken advantage of by such individuals. Later, word spread among Larry's colleagues who had attended the reception, tarnishing his reputation due to his parents' unreasonable actions. He faced criticism for not standing up to them, and the embarrassment was so profound that he chose to resign from his position. As a result of the incident, the president of my father-in-law's company learned about what had transpired. Larry's father faced consequences. He was demoted and relocated to a less significant division in a remote countryside office. I heard that Larry's family faced ostracism from their relatives due to the fallout from the wedding. It's regrettable, but ultimately their actions led to these outcomes, and sometimes such consequences are unavoidable. In the meantime, I've been using this opportunity to strengthen my relationship with my dad. We've been spending more quality time together, and it's helped me appreciate all he's done for me even more. One day, he sat me down for a serious talk. "Linda, have you ever thought about taking over the business?" he asked, his expression a mix of hope and seriousness. "Are you suggesting?" I began, feeling a bit uncertain about where he was leading. "Why don't you work towards becoming the president of my company?" he proposed. It was a significant proposition, and he seemed to believe I was ready for the challenge. "I'll do my best," I promised him, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I made a decision to prioritize advancing my career at my dad's company rather than getting involved in romantic relationships for now. My goal is to prove to myself and to my dad that I can excel and perhaps one day become a great leader like him. Currently, I am fully immersed in learning everything I can at the company. The work is challenging yet fulfilling, and I'm determined to seize every opportunity. Reflecting on the chaos of the wedding, it's clear that Larry's parents were unreasonable, turning what should have been a beautiful event into a spectacle. Thankfully, since the marriage wasn't legally finalized, I avoided a potentially costly mistake. Now, without marital ties or looming in-law issues, I can focus entirely on pursuing my career ambitions. It's a relief to have found a clear path forward from such a tumultuous situation. I'm optimistic about the future and excited about the possibility of leading the company. I wish myself all the best and hope that those who hear this story can find something meaningful in it. Thank you for following along until the end. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.
My husband has been having an affair and has been buying expensive gifts for his mistress using my credit card. I've put up with this for our son, but I can't take it anymore. I need to do something, and the person who ended up helping me was the last one I expected. My name is Alexa, and I'm 35 years old. I've been married to my husband Austin for 10 years. We have an 8-year-old son named Drake. I love reading and now work as a novelist, which was my dream job. My first mystery novel was a big success, and I have several ongoing series each month. My books sell well, so I'm quite busy. At first, my husband had a job, but he quit when I started earning enough money. For the past 2 to 3 years, he has been staying home and sometimes going out to play slot machines. Despite this, he is dressed up in a suit today, which is unusual. Oh, why a suit? I decided to ask him. Austin, it's unusual to see you in a suit. Where are you going? I asked. His eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly composed himself. Oh, I have an interview, he replied. An interview for what? I inquired. A job, he said. I thought maybe it's time I started working again, he added. I see, good luck, I said. Yeah, I'm off, he responded before leaving. At that time, I truly believed he was going to a job interview. Our son is still little, and I thought Austin must have been thinking about our future. However, he didn't come home until 1 a.m. that night. I was still awake because I had a deadline coming up. When Austin finally came in, he fell asleep on the living room sofa, smelling of alcohol and perfume. His smartphone was in his hand, and it was unlocked. Out of curiosity, I looked at his phone. What's this? No, I can't believe it, I whispered to myself. It turned out my husband was cheating on me. What shocked me even more was that his lover was my close friend, Ashley. They had gone to a fancy restaurant known for its beautiful night view. I felt as if I had been hit with something really hard. No way, Austin is having an affair with Ashley? Why? Ashley has a husband too, doesn't she? I trusted both of them. Tears filled my eyes as I faced this unexpected reality. Not wanting to wake my husband, I tried desperately to hold them back. Evidence. Yes, evidence, I thought. For now, I sent the evidence of the affair to my own phone and decided to think about what to do next. The next morning, I casually asked my husband, who was acting normal as usual, "Hey, Austin, about yesterday." "Yesterday," he responded. You said you had an interview, but you came home late. I was just wondering what happened," I said. My husband looked away, seeming to think of an excuse. Actually, I ran into a friend after the interview, so we ended up going for a drink. A friend? Who? Someone you don't know. I don't have to explain everything, do I? Yeah, you're right, I replied, feeling a mix of frustration and sadness. As expected, my husband hid the fact that he had met Ashley. His attitude made it clear he was having an affair. A month after discovering my husband's affair, I still didn't know what to do. I hadn't confronted him about it yet. If I did, our marriage would probably end badly. If it was just me, I would have shown him the evidence and divorced him already. The only reason I didn't divorce him was for our son, Drake. I couldn't take his father away from him when he was still only 8 years old. Afterward, Austin took advantage of me being confined to my room working and started going out frequently. But this was also a perfect opportunity for me. I decided to gather evidence of his affair while he was out. In his room, I found several unfamiliar receipts. Apparently, he had bought luxury branded goods for women, but those items weren't in the room. Of course, I didn't receive them either. The only answer was that Austin was giving these items to Ashley. But where did he get the money for that? He's unemployed and living off the allowance I give him every month. He shouldn't have any savings left. Curious, I decided to follow my husband. In the meantime, I called my brother to look after my son. Of course, my brother didn't know about Austin's infidelity, so I lied to him. I'm sorry for calling you over so suddenly, I said. No, I don't mind, but what's up? You suddenly said you want me to look after Drake, my brother asked. Actually, there's something I really need to go shopping for on my own, I explained. Shopping? You've never been materialistic. You usually shop online, he remarked. I know, but today I want to go buy something that's only available in the store. So, can you look after Drake? I requested. Well, okay. But don't be too late, okay? Drake will get lonely and miss you, my brother replied with concern. Yeah, thank you, I said gratefully, masking the turmoil inside me as I prepared to follow Austin and uncover the truth about his affair. With my brother's help, I successfully followed my husband and witnessed him walking arm in arm with my best friend, Ashley. Seeing it with my own eyes was shocking. They entered a luxurious brand shop together, filled with joy. Then something unbelievable caught my eye. "What? You're kidding, right? That's my credit card," I exclaimed in disbelief. Indeed, the card my husband used to pay was the secondary credit card I usually keep in my drawer. I always use my main card for transactions, but he had taken the secondary card without my permission to buy gifts for Ashley. Over the past few months, I had made various purchases for work-related items like monitors, keyboards, and even furniture, accumulating significant charges on the card. Both cards are linked to the same bank account, and due to being busy, I hadn't checked the card details recently. It had now come back to haunt me. "I can't believe this," I muttered, stunned by the betrayal and financial deceit. Not only was he cheating on me, but he was also using my money without my knowledge. Any love I had left for my husband vanished completely. I blamed myself for not checking and not noticing, but I couldn't bring myself to forgive him. I took plenty of pictures of them together and went straight home. Over the next few days, I focused on planning how to confront my husband. When he wasn't around, I repeatedly checked his PC. Since his smartphone and PC were synced, I could easily see his conversations with Ashley on the computer. It soon became clear that they were planning a trip together during the upcoming holidays. A 4-day trip, huh? I mused to myself. Yes, this is my chance, I resolved, feeling determined to take action. I planned to get back at my husband while he was away on a trip with his lover. But there was a problem. Our son, Drake. It would be hard to pull off my plan without Drake finding out about his father's affair. So I decided to ask my brother for help again. "I hate to ask, but can you look after Drake during the upcoming holidays?" "The holidays? You mean all 4 days?" "Yes, I have something important to do." "Something important, huh?" He said this with a knowing tone. I felt uneasy with my brother's attitude when he straightforwardly remarked, "Alexa, you don't have to handle everything by yourself." "What do you mean?" "Austin's cheating, isn't he?" "What? How did you?" "I heard it from Drake." "What?" "Drake. My son had figured out about my husband's affair, even though he was just a child. I'm not sure if he fully understood everything, but he saw that his father was getting close to someone who wasn't me, and it was making me upset. It seems like he sensed something was wrong, even at his young age. But I thought I was hiding it so well from Drake. Why? It means Austin hurt you enough for Drake to notice. Are you going to stay with someone like him? But if I divorce Austin, Drake will be sad." As soon as I said that, my son, who was supposed to be in the next room, appeared. "It's okay, Mom. I'm on your side." "Drake, are you sure?" "I don't want anyone who makes you sad, Mom. As long as I have you, I'm fine." "Oh, thank you, Drake. And thank you too, brother." With the support of my son and brother, I found the courage to confront my husband about his affair. Drake and I began preparing to move out on the day my husband was set to leave for his trip with his lover. My brother helped us pack discreetly while Austin was away. On the night before his departure, I decided to confront my husband one last time. "Austin, why are you packing a suitcase? What's going on?" "Oh, this. Actually, I'm going on a trip with some friends starting tomorrow." "A trip? Why didn't you mention this earlier?" "It was a last-minute plan. Nothing serious. I'm using my monthly allowance for it." My husband clearly didn't want to discuss it further and gave off an aura that said, "Don't bother me." But I wasn't deterred. I confronted him in a quiet, determined voice I rarely used. "Hey, are you sure it's just with your friends?" My husband visibly panicked, his shoulders twitching nervously. Despite his unease, he clung stubbornly to his lie. "Oh, absolutely. You're really insistent, aren't you?" "All right, I understand. Enjoy your trip with your friends." "I would have enjoyed it anyway, even if you hadn't said that." "Well, just be responsible, okay?" With that, I left my husband's room. Honestly, if he had been honest with me then, I might have considered a civil separation with alimony and child support. Despite his betrayal, there was a time I loved him deeply. He supported me when my novel didn't sell. I didn't want to harbor true hatred or bitterness toward him. Yet, given the circumstances, I couldn't be too forgiving for the sake of my son and my own future. I decided it was time to take action and end things with him. There was no reason for me to hold back anymore, especially after discovering his continued deceit. Early the next morning, my husband had already left for his trip. I checked a drawer and confirmed he had taken my credit card. As usual, I promptly called the card company, reported it lost, and had it deactivated. My son woke up and I greeted him with a good morning. Mom, today's the day, right? Huh. The move. We're going to our new house today, right? Seeing the excitement in my son's eyes, any lingering doubts vanished. Oh, Drake, yes. I've canceled the credit card, so let's move to our new home. Yeah, that's right. I'm so excited for our new place. With my brother's help, our move went smoothly. Our belongings were relocated to our new home, while my husband's things were sent elsewhere the following day. Relaxing in our new space with my son and brother, my husband called. Hello? Oh, Alexa. What is it? Well, actually, this trip is costing more than I expected. Could you possibly send me some money? I realize he must be struggling financially on his trip because I have frozen the credit card. He's avoiding the real issue about the card and asking for money indirectly, which is frustrating. Did you plan this trip within your own budget? I'm sorry, but I can't lend you any money. Don't be like that. If you don't help me out, I'll be the only one not having a good time on this trip. You'll be the only one. Don't you mean both of you? My husband responded with a confused, huh. After all, you're on a trip. You want to show Ashley only the good parts, right? But sorry, the card you took is no longer valid, so you'll have to manage. What? What are you talking about, Alexa? What card? Pretending not to know won't help. You're panicking too much. That's because you're saying things that don't make sense. I don't know anything about a card. Enough. I already know you've been cheating on me with my best friend, Ashley. What? Did you really think I had no idea? Are you kidding me? It's obvious. No, it's not what you think. I'm not cheating. I was so angry that my husband was still trying to deny everything. Ignoring my brother and son who were next to me, I unleashed all the pent-up fury. Stop making excuses. You had a family and you cheated with another woman. And to top it off, using someone else's card. Do you even realize how despicable your actions are? Alexa, let's calm down for a moment. Huh? How can I stay calm dealing with the person I despise the most in the world? And just so you know, I have no intention of forgiving you or helping you. You and that woman can go to hell for all I care. Never show your face to Drake and me again. With that, I hung up on my husband. Then his mistress Ashley called me. Hey Alexa, what the hell did you do? Ashley, long time no see. How's the trip with my husband? Shut up. Explain yourself. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You sent Austin's belongings to my house, didn't you? Indeed, when we moved, I sent my husband's belongings to Ashley's address. But Ashley, being married herself, naturally has her husband at home. That's exactly why I sent all of Austin's belongings to her house, along with a detailed letter explaining everything. She screamed at me over the phone, her voice breaking. This is not a joke. What did he do? My husband found out, and now he's furious. Well, you brought this upon yourself by having an affair while married. You were supposed to be my friend. This is betrayal. You're the worst. I misjudged you. Excuse me? That's rich coming from you. My best friend was having an affair with my husband. How could I forgive that? Who was rude first, huh? I didn't mean it seriously. It was just a joke. I would never actually be interested in someone like him. I don't care if it was a joke or not. I'm filing for divorce anyway. You did have an affair. That's a fact. I'll never forgive you. I'll be seeking significant compensation, so be prepared. Compensation? What are you talking about? I didn't agree to anything like that. Well, you're going to hear about it. It's what you deserve. Wait, I'm a housewife. I can't pay any compensation. I don't care. Figure it out yourself or ask your husband. Although, I doubt that will work. Oh wait, Alexa. Hey, wait. Goodbye. I hung up without listening to her and blocked her number. Later, I finalized my divorce through my lawyer and pursued compensation from my ex-husband and Ashley. Along with child support, I demanded repayment for the credit card charges he made without my consent. After paying the compensation, Ashley's husband demanded a divorce due to the debts, and she was kicked out of their home. She tried to seek refuge with her parents, but they turned her away given the circumstances. With nowhere else to go, Ashley now lives where she works and takes up night shifts at a bar. Austin also tried to lean on Ashley, but she was furious with him for causing her divorce. She promptly ended their relationship. Currently, Austin is juggling several part-time jobs and barely making ends meet. His prolonged unemployment has made it challenging for him to secure stable employment. If Austin ever falls behind on his alimony or child support payments, I intend to pursue him for what's owed, no matter what. As for me, I'm enjoying a peaceful life in our new home with my son. He's growing remarkably, and each day brings new excitement. My focus now is on giving him all the love and stability he deserves, ensuring he never experiences sadness like that again.
Hello, my name is Mary. Right now, I'm working with my husband Samuel at his family's business called The Enterprise. It's a small, cozy company run by Samuel's dad, Liam. There are about 6 of us working there. Liam isn't very involved in day-to-day activities. Samuel takes the lead and might become the next boss. He works closely with clients and pushes new projects to help the company grow. When we have big projects, everyone pitches in, making the atmosphere energetic and passionate. I've been part of this lively place for 8 years now since I married into the family. But Samuel's mom, Amanda, seems unsure about my role here. Recently, when I got home early to cook dinner and Samuel stayed late at the office, Amanda confronted me with some tough words. She asked me, "How long do you plan to stick around in our family's business?" Her tone sounded critical and disapproving. Since Amanda retired, she started criticizing my decisions instead of enjoying her free time. I tried to stay calm and asked her, "What do you mean by clinging?" She replied sharply, suggesting I married Samuel out of necessity and now took advantage of working at their company. This wasn't the first time she accused me like this, it was happening more often. When I got married, I chose to leave my old job and join Samuel's family business. It was my decision, not because I had no other options, as Amanda seemed to think. Trying to explain, I told her, "Mom, I could work somewhere else if I wanted. I chose to be here." But she brushed it off, convinced she understood my motives. The tension with my mother-in-law went beyond words. Despite promising to take over household duties after retiring, she rarely helped, leaving Liam to often ask for her assistance with chores. Instead, she insisted, "I've worked my whole life. Now it's the daughter-in-law's turn to handle things at home." So I often ended up managing dinner and cleaning up afterward. One afternoon, I gathered my courage to address a household issue that was bothering me. "Amanda," I started cautiously, "I've noticed dishes often pile up in the sink. It would be helpful if you could clean up after your meals." Instead of understanding, she reacted strongly. She accused me of crossing boundaries and questioned my right as her daughter-in-law to set rules in her home. Feeling drained by our argument, I knew time was slipping away. If I didn't start dinner soon, we'd eat very late. Despite my frustration, I stayed calm. "Mom, let's talk more later," I suggested, hoping to ease the tension for now and focus on cooking. Amanda seemed to calm down and left for the living room, leaving me alone with the noise of kitchen utensils. Liam and Samuel had seen Amanda treat me this way before. They tried to step in when they could, but it didn't seem to change much. When they addressed the issue, they looked concerned and frustrated, wanting our family to get along better. Ironically, whenever Liam and Samuel confronted Amanda about her behavior, it often made her angrier at me, making her hostility worse. Her usual calm and gentle manner would turn into contempt, and her words hurt deeply, even though she never physically harmed me. Liam and Samuel's support became my sanctuary, helping me endure Amanda's hurtful comments. One tough morning, after I cleaned up from breakfast and was getting ready for work, Amanda suddenly exclaimed, "Oh dear, what a mess. It looks like a garbage dump here." Out of nowhere, she poured a bucket of water on my handbag. I stood there in shock, feeling a mix of disbelief and anger. "Why would you do that, Amanda?" I managed to ask, my voice shaking. Amanda's reply was dismissive, almost playful, like a mischievous child. "Oh, was that your stuff? I thought it was just a big piece of trash." Her casual attitude made me even more furious. Even if you thought it was trash, who pours water on something? I argued, struggling to grasp her lack of consideration. In the morning light, sitting across from Amanda in our living room, her expression was cold and determined, as if she had decided on a drastic action. "What on earth are you thinking? Now the carpet's soaked, and what about my things?" I blurted out, feeling a mix of confusion and frustration as I hurriedly took out the wet items from my bag. Important work documents lay spread out on the table, drying off. Amanda looked at me with a chilling calmness, showing no remorse or concern for the chaos she had caused. "You don't need to go to work anymore," she said flatly. I was completely stunned by her statement. "Excuse me?" I replied, filled with disbelief and shock. Amanda's next words hit me hard. "You've been hanging around this house for 8 years, but today I can finally get rid of you." Her voice dripped with venom and determination, a side of her I'd never seen before. My mind raced with sadness. Get rid of me, I repeated, my voice betraying my disbelief. She made me feel like an outsider in my own family. My daughter is joining the company, so we need you to leave. Today's your last day. All you have to do is apologize to your father-in-law and Samuel for causing trouble, she laughed mockingly, adding insult to injury. She was using my job to push me out. I had invested years into that job, earning respect and making cherished memories. Shocked and heartbroken, I struggled to understand the harshness of her decision. I had devoted myself to this family, yet it seemed my efforts meant nothing to her. Are you sure about this? Wasn't Emma working at a clothing store in Philadelphia? I asked, my voice showing my confusion and concern. My job meant more to me than just a paycheck. It was my path to personal fulfillment. Meanwhile, Emma, my sister-in-law, tired of city life and its impersonal nature, decided to come back. She said she was fed up with the cold people in Philadelphia, so I told her I had a job waiting for her once she returned home. Amanda explained firmly, leaving little room for discussion. Amanda's words hit me hard. She's agreed to come back immediately, and now that she has, I want you out of this house. Her statement was shocking, almost impossible to accept. With one decision, she was ready to completely upend my life, disregarding my place in the family without any chance for dialogue. Coldly, she handed me an envelope. I've written your resignation letter, she announced, effectively casting me out of our home. In that moment, my heart broke. Years of dedication and closeness were brushed aside like they meant nothing. Her actions ripped apart the bonds that held our family together, leaving them irreparably damaged. With a heavy heart, I walked the short 5 minutes to the company, a route I knew well, but today it felt heavy with emotions. Each step under the cool morning sky carried the weight of the situation unfolding. When I entered the office, I shared with Liam, my father-in-law, and Samuel, my husband. I told them about Amanda's harsh ultimatum. They looked shocked and held back their anger, staying composed despite the turmoil. They cautiously suggested it might be best for me to step back for a while to show Amanda the impact of her demands. This suggestion threw my heart into even more confusion. After years of working hard at our family business, the idea of taking a break longer than the usual holidays like Thanksgiving or Christmas seemed strange and overwhelming. Encouraged by Samuel and Liam's supportive words, why not take a step forward and try something new? I decided to take a short trip. As I packed, my mind raced with thoughts about my life, the decisions I had made, and what lay ahead in the future. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law Emma, who was supposed to take over my role at the company, arrived shockingly late at 2 p.m. Her casual attitude left Samuel and Liam bewildered and frustrated. Despite their attempts to help her understand the business, Emma showed little interest in learning its intricacies. Upon hearing this news, anxiety gripped me about the future of the company. Even as I looked forward to my journey and hoped to avoid another encounter with Amanda, I quickly set off. Watching the landscape change from the train window, I took the opportunity to reflect on my past and present. The journey provided not just physical distance but a chance to breathe and think about what lay ahead for me. As I enjoyed local seafood specialties during my travels, my thoughts frequently turned to my family and our business. I was deep in these reflections on the 5th day of my retreat when my peace was suddenly shattered by a tearful call from Emma. "What's happening?" Mom said it was an easy job, just sitting in a chair, but Samuel and Dad act like I can't do anything right. Emma lamented, clearly frustrated. Her words sounded like they echoed the assurances my mother-in-law had given her, which caught me off guard. Despite the relaxed pace of my days away, I knew it was time to face the reality of the situation. "So Emma, how comfortable are you with computers?" I asked, sensing her hesitation. "Well, I mostly watch videos and play games online," she replied, hinting at her limited technical skills. Curious about her abilities, I asked about her experience with software like Word or Excel. Her confused response surprised me, given her background in the apparel industry in Philadelphia, where tasks like tracking sales and managing inventory would typically require basic computer knowledge. "Can you handle sales calculations or fill out documents?" I questioned further. She confidently said she could manage those tasks, but when I asked, "Can you calculate the correct amount of tax?" her confidence wavered, and she answered uncertainly. This wasn't just about testing Emma's math skills, but about seeing if she could apply them practically in a business context. While Emma had talents in other areas, it was evident she lacked confidence in the specific skills needed for the job. Her discomfort with calculations seemed to be a significant factor in the criticism from Liam and Samuel. It was essential for me to address the motives behind my mother-in-law's efforts to replace me. "Since you're taking over my role, I expect you to handle accounting tasks proficiently. Pay attention to email etiquette. A casual tone suitable for friends isn't appropriate for business. You'll also need to manage staff scheduling. Our team is small, but we prioritize everyone's time off requests, so don't put your convenience over theirs," I told her firmly. As I continued outlining her responsibilities, I could hear Emma crying on the other end of the line. It was a difficult conversation but necessary for her to understand the reality and expectations of the role she was taking on. But I thought I wouldn't have much to do. Emma abruptly ended the call, clearly overwhelmed by the tasks ahead. I took the chance to explore Philadelphia, the city Emma had left behind. Surprisingly, I found the people there warmer than I expected, a stark contrast to the cold behavior of my mother-in-law Amanda and Emma, who seemed determined to push me away. A week after leaving my job, I returned to my in-laws' house. As soon as I arrived, Amanda confronted me, her face red with anger. "How dare you make my daughter cry? You won't get away with this," she yelled, her eyes filled with fury and confusion. Before she could reach me, Samuel and Liam stepped in to calm her down. Despite their efforts, Amanda's anger didn't subside. Emma's upset because she got in trouble for trying to boss around her employees without knowing how, Samuel explained calmly but firmly, trying to clear up the misunderstanding. Mary hasn't been here for a week, so she couldn't have upset Emma. Emotionally, Amanda shot back, "It's all because of her. Mary is the reason for Emma's problems. She accused me without any evidence. Where's Emma anyway?" I asked, looking around, but she wasn't there, adding to the confusion. "It's strange. Emma doesn't have anywhere else to go since she gave up her apartment in Philadelphia. I thought she'd be here," I mused aloud. Samuel then explained, "Emma's locked herself in her room. She's been crying and doesn't want to go to work anymore. She's overwhelmed, mainly because she doesn't have the skills needed for the job." Amanda, still angry, accused me, "You've turned Samuel and Liam against me. They wouldn't say the company runs better with you instead of Emma unless you poisoned them against her." Samuel sighed deeply, clearly exhausted from the ongoing family conflict and his efforts to clear up misunderstandings. "Mom," he tried to explain again, "it might seem surprising, but Mary is exceptional at her job. She's certified in bookkeeping, her administrative skills are top-notch, and she's even fluent in Spanish from studying abroad. She handles all our multilingual communications of the company," he said proudly. Amanda looked surprised, evidently unaware of my qualifications and contributions. "That sounds like something from a TV show," she muttered, reflecting on the situation. I remember in college I was so focused on getting certifications and studying that I had little time for socializing or dating. "That's when I met Samuel when he visited my company for business," I shared, trying to bridge the gap between misunderstandings and the reality of our lives. Realizing Amanda wasn't interested in my qualifications or past achievements, I refocused the conversation on the present situation. To sum up, I handle a wide range of tasks at the company, from accounting and scheduling to coordinating with other companies and managing employee shifts, I explained, detailing the breadth of my responsibilities. Samuel chimed in, "The work environment has improved significantly since you took a step back, Mom." His remark visibly surprised Amanda. Just then, Liam, Samuel's father, interjected with a startling revelation. "We're considering closing down the company soon." Emma made a serious error. Instead of completing some crucial documents, she opted to take phone calls because she thought it would be more enjoyable while we were away. She ended up being rude to an important contact from another company, which could have serious consequences. I was shocked, my hand covering my mouth in disbelief. "I can't believe Emma would do something like that," I murmured, filled with a sense of disbelief and dread over the potential implications for the company's future. As I pondered over these anxious thoughts, the story took another unexpected twist. When I explained our situation, the president of the other company suggested it might be time to consider merging. He expressed interest in absorbing our family business. Liam continued, revealing the surprising turn of events. This unexpected development brought a glimmer of hope. A merger could stabilize our customer base, a goal Samuel had been tirelessly working towards through his efforts in sales. Samuel and Liam felt relieved by the news, but Amanda had a different reaction. She immediately objected, "That's not acceptable. Samuel should be the president. This company belongs to us, doesn't it? He shouldn't just become an employee." Amanda exclaimed passionately, unwilling to entertain the idea of losing the status and control that came with owning the company. Her outburst drew Emma downstairs to see what was happening. Amid the chaos, Liam's calm but firm voice cut through the tension. "I am divorcing you. You have resisted change, neglected your duties at home and to the family, and I've learned about your involvement with younger men. I can no longer tolerate this behavior," he declared, shocking everyone present, including Samuel and me. Liam then placed divorce papers and a photo of Amanda with a young man on the table. "If you sign these papers now and take your belongings, I won't pursue alimony. Trying to get money from you would be futile," he stated firmly. "How can you say that? Haven't I dedicated myself to this household all these years?" Amanda protested. Liam countered, "Have you actually done any real housework in the last 8 years? Spending someone else's money on younger men doesn't count as dedication to this house," his frustration evident in his voice. It was an unprecedented display of firmness from Liam, typically known for his gentle demeanor, as he addressed long-standing family issues. The atmosphere was charged with tension and disbelief as Liam, usually composed and reserved, showed a side of himself that shocked everyone present, especially Emma, who had just entered the room. Her slight trembling betrayed her astonishment and fear at the unfolding scene. "Emma, this concerns you too," Liam declared firmly. "You returned because you couldn't make it on your own in Philadelphia. Now you're struggling to find a job here, yet you act as if you're above everyone else. You've stopped making an effort altogether, resorting to escapism. It's time for you to leave this house as well." Emma was stunned, her face showing a mix of confusion and denial. "Wait, Dad, maybe Mom has her issues, but I'm still your daughter, right?" she protested desperately, trying to maintain her place in the family. Amanda, hurt by her daughter's words, reacted with shock. "Are you turning against me now, Emma?" she accused, her voice filled with hurt and disbelief as tensions escalated. Liam intervened swiftly to prevent further conflict. "To avoid more trouble, I've arranged for both of you to stay with an acquaintance until you get back on your feet. They'll be here shortly to pick you up. Please gather your essential belongings," he instructed firmly, his tone brooking no argument. With heavy hearts and no other options, Amanda and Emma packed their belongings. Shortly after, an acquaintance of Liam's, who managed a factory with living arrangements, arrived to take them to their new temporary home. Meanwhile, Samuel, Liam, and I seized the opportunity to inform our employees about the upcoming merger of our company with a larger corporation, preparing them for the changes and challenges ahead. Amidst these significant life changes, I discovered that I was pregnant. I shared the joyful news with the president of the acquiring company, who responded with enthusiasm. He assured me they would find a suitable replacement for my role to ensure a smooth transition. With the promise of new beginnings and the excitement of our growing family, Samuel and Liam redoubled their dedication to the company, inspired by the bright future ahead.
Thinking you're so important just because of $300. I don't care about such a small amount of money. Chuckling, my son and his wife looked down on me, hurling harsh words. I've been helping them for 10 years since they told me they were struggling financially. Even though they never found steady jobs, I held my tongue and tried to find ways to support them. And what do I get in return? Why did I bother helping them in the first place? I thought someday they would appreciate my efforts and soften their attitude, but that day never came. Isn't it clear now? I can't help but feel angry at them for laughing it off, saying it's not enough or just pennies after I've dedicated 10 years of my time and savings to them. I have devoted myself silently to my son and his wife, but today that changes. My name is Mary, a homemaker in my 50s. Since my husband passed away, I've been living alone. We have a son who moved out after college and now has a family nearby. Though our relationship isn't great, they've been a bit troublesome. After college, my son got a job where he met his wife, who became a full-time homemaker after they married. However, less than a year later, my son quit his job due to issues with his boss, assuming he'd easily find another. But things didn't go as planned. Despite searching, he struggled to find suitable work and eventually gave up altogether. His wife didn't show interest in working either, and within months they faced financial difficulties. To help them, I began sending them a modest $300 each month. They were grateful and thanked me for the support. Every day, I hoped they would overcome their difficulties and become self-sufficient. But now, after 10 years, my monthly $300 isn't appreciated anymore. It's something they feel entitled to receive. For example, one busy month filled with family events, I couldn't find time to meet my son and his wife on the usual day. I give them their monthly money. Late that night, I heard loud knocks on the door. It was my son and his wife. "Mom, we need the money on time. Are you starting to forget things because you're getting older?" my son teased. Tired and sleepy from a hectic few days, I replied, "I'll give it to you another time. Please go home for now." Then his wife, her face red with anger, said, "This happens every month. You have to give it on time. Just because you're my husband's mother doesn't mean you can behave like this." And she grabbed me by the collar. Shocked by the sudden confrontation, I reluctantly handed over the $300 to my son and his wife, which I had prepared earlier. "If you had just given it to us in the first place, this wouldn't have happened. I don't want to resort to physical force with you either," his wife continued. "You should listen to us and behave. Remember, if you ever lose your mind, we'll be the ones taking care of you. It wouldn't hurt to stay on our good side, right?" Their audacity infuriated me, but I feared that challenging them might cause them to depend on me even more, much like when my son quit his job. So, swallowing my anger, I smiled, apologized, and did as they demanded. Looking back, I realize I should have stood up for myself then. But my overwhelming desire for them to become self-sufficient left me feeling powerless. The unpleasant memories with them weren't just confined to that day. I received a call from a concerned neighbor. "Mary, can we discuss your son and his wife?" "Oh dear," I apologize. "I'll be right there." Apparently, when the neighbor returned from shopping, she noticed signs of a break-in at her place. After checking the security footage, she was shocked to see that the culprits were actually my son and his wife. Although her home was ransacked, nothing appeared to be stolen. Knowing about my strained relationship with them, she chose to contact me first. I left work early and reached out to my son and his wife. Together, we visited the neighbor to apologize. "I'm truly sorry," I kept repeating, but my son and his wife didn't seem remorseful. The neighbor seemed displeased, but things settled down after I agreed to cover the cost of the broken window. However, on the way back home, they said something shocking. "Why are older people so uptight? We just needed to borrow a few things," they remarked. I was so taken aback that all I could manage was, "Like what?" They continued, not even looking at me. "Sure, we broke a window and made a mess, but we didn't steal anything. Isn't she overreacting?" My son simply nodded in agreement. I couldn't comprehend what they were saying and remained silent the entire journey. Watching everything unfold, I should have found the courage to speak up to them instead of being afraid. My silence only showed my weakness. After that incident, I noticed their behavior becoming more aggressive. Thankfully, aside from the neighbor incident, they didn't cause major problems. So I continued to help them, hoping they would become self-sufficient one day. Whenever they asked for something, I bought it if I could afford it. My son wanted gadgets to socialize, while his wife desired luxury items to feel on par with others. Their demands kept growing, and they increasingly relied on me for everything. Even on my days off, they'd call me over for household chores. I worked tirelessly. They wanted more than just money. They lacked the means and motivation to earn for themselves. Thus, I felt obligated to support them. Despite my exhaustion, I remained dedicated to my job and fulfilled their requests, which left me drained. I developed dark circles under my eyes, my skin became rough, and dizziness became a regular issue. My son and his wife mocked me, saying, "You look like a mess," and his wife even pointed at me, saying, "She's given up on herself." I didn't have the energy to defend myself against their hurtful words. Deep down, I knew I was reaching my limit, but I felt if I stopped working and helping them, everything would fall apart for all of us. So, despite my exhaustion, I kept pushing myself, determined to hold everything together. Honestly, I had wanted to lean on someone and give up a long time ago. One day, while I was doing chores at my son's house, a small incident sparked an argument. I was already stressed and tired, so every little thing they did annoyed me. His wife then made a cutting remark, saying, "You act like $300 is such a big deal." My son, influenced by her words, added, "We don't need that messy amount," and handed back the $300 I had given them that day. They scoffed, saying, "If you're going to give us money, bring a decent amount," mocking and looking down on me. Those words sparked something inside me. "Fine then," I blurted out, "I'll stop. I won't think about the future or your feelings anymore." They both looked puzzled as I began packing my things to leave, but soon they burst out laughing. "Come on, Mom, quit playing around. If we left you, you'd be all alone. You wouldn't have the courage to live without your precious son and his wife," my son mocked. "Mary, since when did you become such a joker? That wasn't funny at all. You had me worry for a moment there," his wife chimed in. They thought I was just venting frustration and not serious about ending the financial support. They continued to mock me. "If you've got the courage, go ahead and leave," they challenged. "But if you do, we'll cut ties with you. Think you can handle being all alone? You'll regret those words soon enough. Your stubborn mom could never do something like that, right?" I felt completely cornered by their words, yet they continued to treat me poorly. I started questioning what I was gaining from supporting them. Buying them things they wanted, doing their chores. Wasn't I just being used and taken advantage of? It felt like they were exploiting my kindness, treating me like a servant even when I was at my breaking point. They might be family by blood, but their behavior made it hard to see them that way. "I'm serious. Remember that you asked for this," I asserted, but they just laughed it off, treating my words like a joke. "Go ahead and try, but you'll regret it soon. I can already see it." My son's words ignited a fierce determination within me. "I'm not going to take this lying down. I'll make them realize how much they've underestimated me and how wrong it is to treat me this way." As I packed up to leave their house, all I could think about was how I would stand up for myself. First things first, I cut off all the support I had been providing to my son and his wife, just as I had promised. No more money, no more financial aid, and no more helping out around their house. Nothing. From my perspective, I had always lived for the sake of my son and his wife, prioritizing their needs over my own. Taking action without considering them was new to me. Now, I could take a break without worrying about them. I could spend my money on myself and do chores just for my own satisfaction. Experiencing this newfound freedom was truly wonderful. My son and his wife believed I would never cut ties with them and live independently. But in reality, the independence I had yearned for over a decade was exactly what I achieved. Moreover, I decided to exert more pressure on them. I had leased the apartment they lived in after they were evicted from their previous place due to financial difficulties. Naturally, I was also the one paying the rent. Since I had decided to stop supporting them entirely, it didn't make sense to continue paying their rent. Therefore, I contacted the real estate manager and terminated the lease. The manager, who understood our situation, cooperated with me. They were given a month's notice to vacate the apartment, with the understanding that if they didn't comply, formal action would be taken. That night, I sent a text to my son and his wife, informing them that if they didn't move out of the apartment within a month, it would become a serious matter. They read the message right away, and within minutes, my phone started ringing. "Mom, what the hell is this? Where are we supposed to go?" My son shouted as soon as I answered. I could hear his wife panicking in the background. "You may have forgotten, but I was the one paying for that apartment. I told you I was stopping all support, didn't I? So, canceling the lease was the next step." I replied calmly. "We never agreed to that. You said you'd stop sending money, but we assumed everything else would continue," my son protested. I chuckled at his naive expectation. "Really? While you speak so harshly to me, you thought you could still rely on my support for everything else, except the allowance? It's astonishing to see how naive my son and his wife can be. I had let them treat me however they pleased for too long. Even when I expressed my discomfort, I always gave in to their demands, financially and with my time. It was somewhat selfish of me, hoping they would eventually become independent. But I was mistaken. They were the type to take advantage of my generosity as much as they were pampered by it. In hindsight, I should have clearly asserted my position and made them understand. I was the one providing allowance, offering financial support beyond that, and taking care of their household chores. However they look at it, I held the upper hand, and they should have shown gratitude and respect towards me. Instead, they treated me with utter disrespect, like a servant, a mere tool, an ATM to be used at their convenience. To make matters worse, they even laughed at me. When I was at my wit's end, why did I exert myself so much for such an unreasonable couple? Even when they treated me unfairly, I remained silent and let them have their way. Despite all I did for them, they never appreciated my efforts. They only took advantage of me. It wasn't until I reached my breaking point that I realized how selfish and dismissive they truly are, and how they never truly saw me as family. They may have viewed me as a resource, but never as family, not even a little bit. Why didn't I see this sooner? Why did I keep giving my all until I felt completely overwhelmed? Why did I continue believing in them? Looking back, I realized how pitiful my past actions were. I tirelessly supported them, hoping they would eventually become self-sufficient, but all my efforts seemed to count for nothing. As I reflect on the past, my anger towards them intensifies. I feel the need to confront them and demand accountability. I won't be satisfied until they acknowledge their mistakes and apologize. Fueled by these emotions, I spoke up again. "I'm going to stop the allowance but continue with the other support. What do you think?" I asked them. "That's not going to happen," my son tried to interject, but I cut him off firmly. "No buts. You understand me. Your lives have always relied on me. If you ever upset me or if I decide not to help you one day, you'd be in trouble. Fortunately for you, I've been naive enough to keep hoping that maybe someday you'll become independent, that perhaps you won't need me to get by." "That's right, Mom is kind. That's why you're not really going to abandon us, right? You just said those things in the heat of the moment and now you can't take them back. So you're doing this, right? It's okay, we forgive you. Let's try to be a family again, okay?" my son pleaded. "Don't be foolish. I've finally seen things clearly. Despite all the support, you two don't even want to be independent, do you? You just want to keep living comfortably on my dime, don't you? I retorted firmly. Trying to explain himself, my son backpedaled. That's not it. We did want to be independent, but we couldn't. We haven't even been looking for jobs. My wife feels the same. We tried in our own way, but it's been impossible. Almost laughing at his response, I couldn't believe their audacity to claim they had tried their best in their own way. I had been observing my son and his wife closely for years. Neither of them seemed to put any effort into finding jobs or living frugally. Instead, they were comfortably living off me every single day. How could they possibly say they had tried their best? Listen, Mom, we're really grateful for everything you've done. We can't even express it in words, but you've always gone above and beyond for us. We know we depend on you to live, and we'd be lost without you. So why don't we start over? You need us too, right? My son pleaded. Are you kidding me? I don't need you, I responded bluntly. On one hand, there's a guy who's still stuck on some trouble from 10 years ago, never holding down a steady job and just being lazy. And on the other hand, there's a woman acting like a stay-at-home wife, never supporting or pushing her husband, just doing as she pleases. You think I need people like you too? You couldn't be more wrong. Do you have any idea how much I've endured because of you too? Day in and day out, I work to make money for you, and even when I'm not working, I'm doing chores for you. It's been incredibly tough, and I finally come to realize that. After all that, I'm not naive enough to want to be family with you too. Don't say such harsh things, Mom. We need you, my son insisted. Without someone like you supporting us all the time, Despite my words, my son continued to argue from his perspective, disregarding mine. As I pondered what to do next, I suddenly heard a voice shout, "Give me that." Then his wife took the phone. Mary, honestly, I've been frustrated with my husband's selfish behavior too. Most men go out, work, and support their family, but he just wanders around, not working. For my sake, I regret marrying him every day. I feel just as hurt as you do. I'm a victim too. Please help me. Even if it's just me, I can't do this without you. After making her shocking plea to abandon her husband to save herself, his wife continued, I'll do anything you need me to do, whether it's housekeeping or anything else. Use me however you want. Please, Mary, don't abandon me. Her words left me stunned, and I could hear the couple arguing loudly over the phone, each trying to assert control of the conversation. Annoyed by the chaos, I frowned, and suddenly, it seemed the phone was knocked out of hand and the call disconnected. Days passed without a call back from them. It turned out their relationship had deteriorated significantly after that incident, leading them to decide on divorce and go their separate ways. They blamed each other and even fought over money, prolonging the dispute until their divorce was finalized. After the divorce, both of them tried reaching out to me, but by then, I had already blocked their numbers. So I never heard from them again. My son took on a factory job, working day and night just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, his ex-wife tearfully returned to her parents' home and confessed everything. They reprimanded her harshly. She came to apologize, accompanied by her parents, but she was crying so much that I couldn't make out her words. Since then, I've been living for myself. For a decade, I had been tied down by their needs and never had a moment to focus on myself. Embracing a life centered around my own needs felt incredibly refreshing and liberating. Although I ended up alone without them, I found solace in it. I'm uncertain about the future. There may come a time when I won't have the luxury to live solely for myself. But for now, I believe I deserve to prioritize my own happiness.